Everybody, welcome back to another day, another episode of the Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we're going to be watching three videos. We're going to be watching a video from Jason Schreier called How Things Got So Bad for Xbox. Then we're going to watch a video about new major State of Decay 3 details emerge. And then we're going to watch Why I Hate Helldivers 2. Not Why I Hate Helldivers 2, but a video called Why I Hate Helldivers 2. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about GTA. Just announced the pre-orders will go up live on June 25th, so we'll talk about that in a second. What's going on, chat? Good morning. How's everyone doing? Let me see who's all here. Let me scroll up here. Aku, Altern. What? Is there a reason why when I don't know why it does it. I don't know why it does it. Screw it. We'll do it the old way. What's going on, Aku, Altern, Eclipse, Roic, Kylo Green, Travis? What's going on? Good morning. Who am I missing here? Ashraf, good morning. Jesse Mack, good morning. It just keeps scrolling. Like I scroll up, and then all of a sudden my chat goes back to the bottom. It's like, why? Is that like a new feature? I can't do it. All right. Let's see here. What do I have? Oh, I gotta fix my what's wrong with my camera? Why does it do this? I don't know why it gets all blown out. All right. Let's get to... This is the first Rockstar Games official. It says pre-orders for Grand Theft Auto 6 will officially begin on June 25th on digital storefronts and other select retailers. Check out the official cover art, also available as downloadable art at rockstar.com. Now, it does say digital storefronts, right? Digital storefronts. So that's happening. Then they also showed the cover art. Here is the cover art for GTA 6. Again, GTA 6 style. What's going on, Waterbear? Okay, we got Grand Theft Auto. There's the official cover art, which I believe, people did mock-ups and stuff like that to see it. So GTA official box art revealed. Pre-orders go live June 25th. Rockstar Games officially revealed the box art for GTA 6. Announced the pre-orders will go live for the game on June 25th. Now, Waterbear brought up something. It doesn't not say PC. So maybe it's coming out for PC same time. I don't know. Just hopium, going up there. The announcement was made official on Rockstar's social media account, where it also revealed the players can now also download the game's official cover art. But before we can get the full story, consider downloading the free, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there you go. That is the official. And just to show you, right, this has already been seen 542,000 times in an hour, okay? And that's just this one from Rockstar. From other people's posts, Paul Tassie's apply here. It's got 5,000 views, right? Or actually, is that refreshed? I guess it's timed. I guess it's like keeps up the track. By the time the show ends, this will be in the millions, right? The millions, because now it's spreading through the internet right now. These guys never need to say shit at a Summer Game Fest or anything like that. They literally can just drop a tweet, and that's all they need. Aku says, 30, no idea. Everyone is trained on a ramp safety to approach certain areas until they also can tell. Oh, you're talking about the guy who ran into a prop. And I'm not talking about a movie prop. I'm talking about a prop of a plane. On your side, it says 5.5 million. Well, maybe I'll refresh it here. Maybe you're on a different post. Maybe it's a different post. Oh, nope, there it goes. 5.7 million. There you go. So it wasn't refreshing live. So in 1 hour, 5.7 million. So let me rephrase that. It's going to be in the tens of millions, maybe even 20 million by the time we end the show in about 2 hours. Okay? They do not need anybody. Point still stands. They don't need anybody to advertise their game. Right? 5.7 million. And it's just constantly moving up. All right. But that's the good news, right? That's not until November. Only GTA have these views counts? I mean, yeah. Well, like a Spider-Man, stuff like that. Not for video game, for like movies and stuff like that. It goes up pretty fast. All right, we're going to watch Jason Schreier. The videos that we have today are pretty long. We might not get to all of them, but we are going to start with Jason Schreier's video on how it got this bad. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Oh, give me 1 second. All right. My wife was calling me, and then she hung up on me. All right. Here we go.
Is about to hit the reset button. As I reported on Bloomberg last week, massive layoffs are coming to Xbox after the end of Microsoft's fiscal year on June 30th. And as I reported on Bloomberg this week, studios such as Compulsion, the maker of South of Midnight, and
Is it Compulsion or Compulsion? Is it Compulsion? I don't know anymore. Second guessing life.
Double Fine, the maker of Kiln and Keeper, and Ninja Theory, the maker of Hellblade, are all currently in negotiations with Xbox to figure out.
Now, I want to make that clear. A lot of people are running with that they are closed, like these studios are closed. There's no official news that any of these things are closing. It's all rumors and speculations right now. They're all in negotiation. I think except Ninja Theory. They're pretty much they're not sold, so they are going to close, but it's not officially they're closed yet, right?
What happens next, because all of them are on the chopping block, and those are just the three that I've confirmed so far. I know that there are other studios in trouble. I know that layoffs are about to hit the entire organization in a huge way. Full picture isn't clear yet. We'll find out a little bit more in the days and weeks to come, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how we got here. In 13 years, Xbox,
I would say it's faster than 13 years, right? I know he's going back to Xbox One, right? But really what cemented their problem is the spending without making the stuff and the bloated budgets in the last, I would say, 7 years.
has gone from competing with PlayStation for console supremacy to hiring a new CEO who's like saying publicly about how troubled talking publicly about how troubled the business is, and writing memos that include lines like, quote, "This cannot continue." I think it's worth noting before we start getting into the history that Microsoft is a complicated organization with a lot of different branches. And within Xbox, you have a lot of these different tentpoles. You have hardware, you have software, you have services, and those are all three different businesses with kind of competing models, and sometimes they're at odds with one another. What's good for the Xbox as a
You know what? What Leo just said in chat is exactly what's happened, right? They've released consoles without any games twice. I'll never understand that. It's exactly right, right? We've talked about this all the time. It's like, even the Helix right now, right? It takes 5 to 7 years to make a video game. 5 to 7 years. If they come out with a system in 2028, they are 5 years still. Okay, because it takes 5 to 7. So they could be 3 to 5 years into the cycle of the next consoles, and they won't have an actual game created for that actual console. Like, it makes no utter sense on why we need a new console. We don't need new consoles. We don't need a Helix. We don't need a PlayStation 6. We don't need a Switch 3. They can continue making games for the systems that they're on. And now that you've raised the price of this system, $150 to $200 for across the board, except Nintendo, right? It's insane to think that these people they're just going to continue. They think if they fire everybody, get rid of everybody, and start over again, it's going to fix the situation. No, you're still going to make expensive games that are not going to be ready for a system that's coming out. That's going to be an expensive system that no one can buy, and we have to wait 3 to 4 years into that life cycle just to get a game for that system. It makes no sense.
platform might not necessarily be good for Xbox games and the studios that are making them. This is true of a lot of companies, but it's even more pronounced at Microsoft, where people are incentivized to stay in their jobs for as long as possible and to make sure that they are seen as doing a good job and make sure they do not rock the boat, because much of their compensation, which is very good at Microsoft, is stock. And what happens at Microsoft is that their stock vests over time. They get new tranches over time, and each of it is kind of like vesting over a certain period. And so to get their full comp, they need to stick around. There's this kind of infamous program that they have called 55 and 15, which is basically if you've been there for 15 years and you are age 55 or older, you can retire, and then all of your stock will vest as a result. And so essentially, again, more incentive to just stick around at the company to keep your job. So just keep that in the back of your head as we kind of go through the Xbox story.
Kyle says the bro is so zesty. What is zesty? I mean, I know what zesty is for food wise, but what do you say zesty? Are you talking about because of his voice?
All right. So how did we get here? Let's go back to 2013. So this is the end of the Xbox 360 era. The Xbox 360 is up there with the PlayStation 3, duking it out for number one. I believe the 360 is number one at one point. I don't remember. I think they're both kind of like neck and neck towards the end in terms of hardware sales. I believe the PS3 might have...
Yeah, it was like 88 and 84 million, something like that for PlayStation and Xbox. They were really close.
Slightly inched out the 360 by the end of things, but essentially they were on par at that point. And the Xbox, I mean, a lot of people associate it with big hits like Halo and Gears and Forza, but it also really innovated and brought to the games industry this idea of indie games that weren't just kind of like these random garage hits that or garage creations that you might find on your...
Steam did that. Steam brought indie games to the forefront.
PC, if you know the right file share programs to look for, but also these legitimate potential hits like Braid and Limbo and Super Meat Boy and even Minecraft. All of those games became hits in part or mostly because they were on Xbox's Xbox Live Arcade program, which allowed some of these indie games not just...
They still have that though. Microsoft still has indie games on Game Pass and all that stuff
to be distributed to Xbox console owners, but also gave them promotion on the Xbox UI and really helped these people just kind of stand out. They got support from an internal organization within Xbox, ID at Xbox. And so worth noting here that like without Xbox in this generation, indie games would not be quite what they are today.
On console, we got to stop this for a second. Indie games have always been a thing on PC. Xbox tried to get the market to take it from PC to bring them onto console. I think he's missing a big factor there, right? Indie games on console were big because of Xbox, not because of just in general Xbox made indie games. No, that's not how it was.
Then 2013 comes along, and we have the Xbox One debacle under Don Matrick, who is running the org. The idea of the Xbox One, the next console, was not just to be a gaming platform, but also an all-in-one entertainment machine.
Which all consoles are today, just by the way, right? Don Matrick came out, said what he said, did what they did, and it was ahead of its time, and people didn't like it. But now your PlayStation, your Xbox, your Nintendo, all your stuff is an all-in-one piece of entertainment. You can watch movies, right? Play games, surf the web if you want. I don't know who's using it to surf the web, but
the messaging in their announcement in May 2013 is completely incoherent and inconsistent. You have executives contradicting each other in interviews because nobody really knows what's going on. It's bundled with Kinect. It's online only. Nobody is really clear exactly how that works. You have to plug it in do you have to connect?
Which all systems today are online only. Do you see what it was that we pushed back against? And yet here we are in 2026, and everything that he's describing that Microsoft was pushing back in 2013 is what all systems are today.
to an internet connection every once in a while, every 24 hours, or all the time, or what does that look like? It's not clear. But one thing is clear: people hate it. People revolt. At this point, I think it's worth noting today the idea of an online-only console is more palatable. I think more people are kind of accustomed to that notion, but back then that was not the case.
They literally, Google Stadia came out with just a console that was just online.
People did not have quite the same internet infrastructure that they do today. And this idea of not being able to own your own games, which was a huge part of it. A huge part of this, by the way, a little bit of quick context here is that at this point, used games were seen as the boogeyman for the video game industry. And a lot of game companies wanted to go to digital. They wanted to find ways to make it so you couldn't just buy a game and then trade it back into GameStop and allow GameStop to sell your used game to other people. This was seen as a big problem for gaming back then. Anyway, so Xbox One is announced. It's a debacle. About 1 or 2 months after, 2 months, I believe it was July of 2013, they reverse course on the online only thing and say, actually, we're going to make this so you can play it offline. Don't worry about the online stuff. Eventually, they get rid of Don Matrick during this period, but it's kind of too late to recover. And one of the biggest problems is still intact, which is that the Xbox One is still sold with the Kinect bundled in. The Kinect, for people to remember, is the kind of the body motion sensing device that Microsoft used to manufacture and had its pros and cons. And so as a result of that,
this is the guy that called us chuds for Veilguard. That's correct.
The Xbox One was sold for $500, whereas the competing PlayStation 4, which came out around the same time, November of 2013, was sold for $400. With that, the console war was essentially over. The next year, they wind up
Hold on a second. PlayStation sold their PlayStation 3 for $600, and it was a Blu-ray player. More people bought that for a Blu-ray player than the actual system itself, right? Like the way he just said that about Xbox, I just want the energy level to be the same across the board, right?
Matching the
I understand that the video is called "How Things Got So Bad for Xbox."
Connect and selling the Xbox One for $400 to try to compete, but
they make it sound like Nintendo made the Wii U. It's one of the worst consoles ever created, like selling wise. One of the worst consoles ever created. Is Nintendo bankrupt and closed? No, they kept going.
A little bit too little, too late. So Phil Spencer takes over. Phil Spencer takes over in 2014. He's a Microsoft lifer, been there for like his entire life. It was the only job he had was being at Microsoft, and he is kind of seen as he's well liked, he's gregarious, he's amicable, and he is seen as someone with a vision for what Xbox could look like 1 year, 5 years, 10 years down the road. One of his first big bets in the 2 or 3 years after he takes over is this initiative called Xbox Game Pass that they see as their version of Netflix for gaming. And Phil Spencer, I think, pretty wisely recognizes that as production costs keep going up, the volatility of the games industry just keeps increasing. And so you need to sell more and more copies to get a hit. This is becoming a problem for Microsoft. And so why not
It's becoming a problem for the industry. For the industry.
take after the software initiatives within the org and get people on a subscription, get a stable source of recurring revenue, get people paying $10 a month and just continuing to do so. This is also a time when, like Netflix, we're seeing the rise of streaming services in film and TV. So it seems like a viable business model. And Phil Spencer sees this as the kind of the North Star for Xbox at this point. Game Pass launches in 2017. Soon it's getting day one versions of every Xbox.
Leo says, do you think if Xbox did a reset like Nintendo did after the Wii U, you would think it would also have helped? When you're saying like reset, you're saying like Xbox One sales like year 2, they were just sucked and they just started pushing out the next Xbox. I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, look at it. Look at what the Xbox One did, and then look what the Xbox Series, S and X did. Xbox One still sold like 58 million units. It's not great. I mean, in the console world, it's not great, but it's also not terrible, right? 58 million units, right? The ones that we have now, like this generation for them is worse than the last generation. And they're talking about the last generation is what killed it, right? 58 million to 28 million. They sold 30 million more units for Xbox, but they also have, now Xbox Anywhere. So now you can play Xbox PC, tablet, phone, right? Computer. So there's more people that can play Xbox now, just not buy the system. So I don't know if they did a reset. I don't know. It's a weird spot because technology was advancing so fast, and where we are today, I mean, just look 10 years ago. It's a completely different landscape now.
Game. Around the same time, quick kind of side note here, with Xbox One sales struggling, Spencer decides to put all of their games on PC, which is essentially the end of Xbox exclusivity, which I think that people kind of...
Xbox never had full exclusivity. They did put their games on PC. Halo was on PC. Halo was on a Mac. My God.
Point to the recent initiatives of PlayStation being on PlayStation and Switch as like, oh, Xbox isn't exclusive anymore. But really, this is it. Because if you can get Xbox games on PC, that means that if you are a PC user, and there are many millions of them out there, you have very little reason to buy an Xbox.
Before they moved their officially to PC, if you're a PC gamer, you had a PC, why would you buy an Xbox? If you weren't buying an Xbox before the games were on the PC, what would make you buy an Xbox? Nothing. Nothing would make you buy an Xbox. Why? Because you had way more games and choices on your PC. So Xbox was like, well, they're not buying our system, so we might as well bring our games to them, right? They weren't buying. Same with PlayStation. PlayStation's like, oh, we're going to put our games over to PlayStation or a PC. That'll entice them to get a PlayStation. Well, there was a stat. Nobody cared. Anyone that was on a PC that didn't already own a PlayStation wasn't going out and buying a PlayStation. It's the same exact thing.
Box. More on that stuff in a bit, but let's get back to Game Pass. For Game Pass to work, it needs a lot of games, and Spencer and the Xbox org wind up paying a lot of developers to put their games on Game Pass, and those deals wind up helping a lot of developers. A lot of developers stay solvent over the years, but it's not enough, and Spencer wants a way bigger back catalog, and just he wants hundreds of games on there, because the only way for a Netflix of gaming to work is to have a huge catalog of software out there. So he goes...
Yes, but they also, the software that you're putting on there can't cost $400 million to put on Game Pass. You'll never make your money back on that. You have to put games on there in the price point of like a Vampire Survivor, of a Pal World, of an Expedition 33.
On a shopping spree. And that is in part buoyed by the success of the big 2014 acquisition that Xbox made, which was Minecraft and Mojang, which is for $2.5 billion and worked incredibly well. I mean, Minecraft is still, to this day, many, many years later, it's still one of the biggest games in the world. So 2018, 2019 era, he buys Double Fine and Compulsion and Obsidian and Exile and Ninja Theory and a whole bunch more. Playground. And then in 2020, Xbox buys ZeniMax, the company behind Bethesda, for $7.5 billion, which gives them access to franchises like Fallout and Elder Scrolls and Doom. Essentially takes this massive third-party publisher.
That's because ZeniMax was looking to be bought. Hence why in 2019 they showed Skyrim, they showed Starfield, they showed all the stuff because they were up for buy. They wanted to show the investors. Same thing Microsoft was trying to do with the Ninja Theory by showing the Senua game so they can get a buyer, which it didn't pan out for them so far, right?
And puts them into the Xbox umbrella. And one of their first things that they say is like, hey, we're going to put all these games. They're going to be they're all going to be day one on Game Pass. They're all going to be part of our just kind of broad strategy. We're going to put them on Xbox and PC. Part of the arrangement behind all of these acquisitions is that these studios get to keep their autonomy. ZeniMax becomes its own entity, or stays its own entity, still reporting to its CEO, Jamie Leader, while studios like Double Fine and Obsidian turn into what's called limited integration studios. They're told, make great games, take risks, try to win awards. It's okay if a game isn't a huge hit because it can still be useful to Xbox as part of this broad strategy to get games on Game Pass. So Double Fine might be a perfect example of that. This is an independent studio in San Francisco that has been around for many, many years.
A studio in San Francisco cost way too much money to keep open. Just saying.
It's one that you might know well if you've watched the Double Fine documentary series, including Psychodyssey, about the making of Psychonauts 2, which once again, I will say I cannot recommend enough if you want to understand how games are made and get a little glimpse behind the curtain into the messy development process. So please go watch that. But yeah, so these guys, I mean, Double Fine is an example of a studio that like has kind of survived, but never really had a huge hit. It's not the type of studio you buy if you want extreme profitability, if you want Call of Duty level numbers. We'll get to that. So that's not the mandate. The mandate is like, you can be successful at the studio as long as you are making a game that contributes to the overall value of Game Pass, which is our main mission. At the end of 2020,
You know what they could do, Water? You're like, what's the point of even buying a new console, even if you're just a cloud gaming or PC? Well, maybe if they add like a cup holder, you know what I mean? Maybe if they add a cup holder, maybe like a pinstripe down the center of the consoles now to make it look more racy or sporty. Maybe if they can, KFC makes that console where you can cook chicken while you're playing your video games. Maybe that would sell better, right? That would be exclusive. You can cook chicken while you're actually making, right? There really is no point, right? You're buying a more inferior product than if you bought a PC.
Around the same period, Xbox launches the Xbox Series X and Series S. One is more powerful, one is more affordable, and the idea is hopefully get back in the hardware race after really losing this Xbox One generation. Because at this point, Xbox hardware sales have truly kind of fallen off a cliff. The PlayStation is outselling it 2-1 by many estimates. We don't know the real numbers because things have gotten so bad that Microsoft decided to stop reporting Xbox sales numbers, Xbox hardware sales numbers, which one rule of thumb in the games industry is that if you've sold well, if you're doing well, you share numbers. If a game does not share
I'm sorry, what's that, Jason?
sales numbers, chances are it is not delivering.
Oh, if you don't share numbers, let's rewind that just a little bit, right? He's credible. People like listening to him because I say this stuff all the time. And I don't know, you don't know what you're talking about.
Xbox sales numbers, Xbox hardware sales numbers, which one rule of thumb in the games industry is that if you've sold well, if you're doing well, you share numbers.
Yeah, imagine that. If you sold well, you would scream from the hilltops. If they don't tell you numbers, it means it doesn't sell well. Hence why they go to players. Looking at you, Ubisoft. Looking at you, Sony. Looking at you, Xbox, right? They don't tell you the numbers. Meanwhile, these independent companies come out and they're like, we sold 5 million units. We sold 7 million units. We sold 12 million units.
If a game does not share sales numbers, chances are it is not delivering the expectations that people were hoping for. But one of the problems with the Xbox Series, other than just kind of losing a lot of people to PlayStation over the last generation, one of the problems is that it doesn't have a killer app because the new Halo game,
I like how you say nobody likes listening to this person. The reason Jason Schreier, he just started his YouTube channel 2 weeks ago. He's got 77,000 people subscribed to him. I've been saying the same shit for 10 years. I don't have a publication. I don't have a blog. I don't have any of that stuff, right? So when I say people listen to him, people listen to him. People read his articles. We're listening to him right now. Why? Because all of you know who he is, and he's a credible source, which is unfortunate because there's not many people out there that are credible sources.
Infinite, which was planned for launch, is delayed to fall 2021. It is having all sorts of development issues. That's a story for another day. And man, I talked about budgets on a previous video. Maybe one day I'll talk a little bit about Halo Infinite and its challenges and its budget. The budget behind that game is I think larger than most people would ever even guess.
I'm going to say 800 million. Let's pin that. I'm going to say Infinite's number was around $700 to $800 million.
That game winds up coming out in fall of 2021, and I think has a kind of strong start, but like ultimately winds up disappointing players. Again, story for another time. So it's 2021. Xbox hardware sales are not where they need to be. Its initiatives.
Now, he's leading up to it. He's leading up to why it all failed. It wasn't just because of this thing. He's leading up to it, I would assume, Water.
Like cloud, which is the idea that like you could stream a game to a device and play it using Microsoft's servers, and so you don't need to buy an expensive piece of hardware to play it. That initiative has not really taken off in a big way. Game Pass.
Mo says, I've listened to you before him, and I'm listening to you listen to him. I'm listening to him because, like I said, people think that he is the one that knows most information. So obviously, I'm going to listen to him. And when he says stuff, the same stuff that I've been saying the entire time, it just kind of credit builds me more, doesn't it?
Has done fairly well, but subscriptions have kind of plateaued. There isn't a ton of growth in it. COVID has led to a lot of big gaming growth. Interest rates are at zero.
See, that's false. Yes, COVID made gaming growth, but it's false, right? It's like how can I put an example so people can understand? Okay, I went to a school. It was called Full Sail. Okay, Full Sail. Okay, we used to call it. It was a joke, Full Mail. Okay, because in the arts industry, in the entertainment, show pro, computer animation, all this stuff, it's like 99% men. Okay. So when a girl was in our class, okay, she became the most like important person, right? Because we're all dudes and we see a girl, we're like, oh my God, this girl likes what we like because she's in the same industry. So the girl thought she was way hotter than she actually was, right? You hear what I'm saying? That's what COVID did to video games, right? It attracted people because people were stuck in their houses and they're like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna play some video games. What's that? You played video games? Let me play video games. And now everyone in the last 7 years or 6 years is a gamer and is much more attractive to gaming. So all these big wigs and executives saw this and said, look at this. We're gonna be inside for the rest of our lives during COVID, right? We're living the dream. We're going to make games, and no matter what we build, they're going to buy because they're stuck in their houses. Believe me, the corporations wanted you stuck in their houses, okay? At least the gaming industry anyway. That's what happens. You become way more attractive when you're limited the results of what you have. You look around, you're like, well, there's nobody here. Well, she's pretty hot, right? And that's what you get. That's what COVID did for video games.
Of crazy acquisitions going on, and Phil Spencer takes a big swing.
Right. In Full Sail, Water, a girl, okay, she was like an 8 or a 9. You went outside to a bar or anything to go have drinks, and you're like, am I dating a 2? Am I with a 2? Holy shit.
Activision Blizzard at this
and someone's like, oh, you're so shallow. I'm just telling you how it is, right? I'm just telling you how it is.
Point is facing a lot of turmoil. It's dealing with misconduct lawsuits and a lot of exposés written about it. And Phil Spencer decides to buy it for nearly $70
COVID saved gaming? You don't mean that, Ron.
billion, the equivalent of 28 Minecrafts, in a deal that is announced in January of 2022. So there are a few reasons that this deal makes sense from Xbox's perspective. Call of Duty is one of the biggest franchises in the world, and it could be a huge growth driver for Game Pass. You get the new Call of Duty as day one on Game Pass every year. You get a lot of people subscribing to Game Pass for that. Blizzard.
So you know what I'm talking about, Kylo. You know what I'm talking about. Right, Kylo says that was like high school. I went to a tech school, and there was like 10 girls in my graduating class. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Isn't quite what it used to be. You can read that story in Play Nice, the book that I published a couple of years ago.
What? Jason, you wrote a book? I can't tell. I couldn't tell.
But it still has killer franchises. Diablo, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft was and remains a guaranteed moneymaker, so that's always a good investment. Activision Activision Blizzard also owns King, the makers of Candy Crush, which gives Xbox a presence on mobile that it never had before. I think Xbox is looking at mobile as a growth opportunity at this point. Mobile is a really tough market to get into and to find success in, but Candy Crush is one of the games that has found success over the years. So that's a good investment. Now, I won't get into all the nitty gritty of the regulatory process, but essentially it was a very messy battle that wound up taking 18 months to close. The deal was announced in January of 2022, and it didn't close until October of 2023. And during that period of time, the climate changed quite a bit. All of that COVID growth went away and started sputtering, and it became clear that the video game industry was not going to see double-digit growth again.
Here's my biggest issue with anybody that was running a company at this moment. Everyone was banking on everyone else being stuck in the house for the rest of their lives. That's what the executives were doing in video games. They thought the growth went up and they were like, holy Christ, we just hit a gold mine, which they did. But they thought that's how it was going to go out because these people don't know how to run a business. They know how to take advantage of people, but they don't know how to run a business.
Roblox started exploding. A lot of other service initiatives did not fail. AI began to take over. ChatGPT launched in around this time that the Activision deal closed and became this sensation, this kind of cultural phenomenon. And
instead of, right, if there was only a template of how the video game industry grew for the 35 years ahead, right, or 25 years ahead, from the 80s to today, or up to this point where he's talking about, right, which was like 35 years. If there was only a template of make a game, sell a game, that's not what they were doing. There is so many problems across the board here. And we're talking about now, this is when live service was at its peak right before COVID, right? 2018, 2019, Fortnite, everyone's like, oh, we're going to make live service games. Everyone's stuck in the house. This is what we're going to do. Charge microtransactions. Don't forget NFTs now. We had NFTs in that time slot too. Okay. Everyone was trying to capitalize on all of this stuff instead of going, hey, can we just make a game and sell a game?
And companies, including Microsoft, were looking over and saying, how about this AI thing? And I wonder, after that 18-month messy process that really led to a lot of problems, I wonder how many people at Xbox were still thrilled about that particular acquisition. Because around then is when Microsoft began to issue a new mandate to Xbox. Microsoft, its CEO, its CFO, they began to put on a little bit more pressure than there had been on Xbox before. Suddenly...
Well, yeah, because they spent $70 billion.
It became all about profitability.
It's always been about profitability. Here's the thing. When kids are playing in the playground, everyone's having fun, right? Everyone's having fun. You're playing the playground, everyone's having fun. But then there's that one parent, right? Let's say you're on a field trip, and that one parent that was a chaperone doesn't like the way you guys are playing. And they're like, hey, stop that. Quit it. You're not allowed to do that. Don't play on the slide like that. Don't hang off the side of the monkey bars like that. And you're like, oh, okay, well, this playground just became a shithole because we can't do anything on a playground because corporate over here doesn't want us to do anything, right? That's the bare bones of what Microsoft did. Satya and Amy, okay, were like, hey, stop playing over there. They were making money, but they weren't making the oodles and oodles of money. They're like, wrap this up. It's not about having fun, making video games and being a business. No. We got AI over here pulling in $1 billion a month. You got to do that. That's what we need.
Because Microsoft is looking over, and between the $69 billion acquisition, a lack of Game Pass growth, and this newfound focus that Microsoft wants to have on AI, they say, hey, we want to see a bit more of a return on this massive investment that we made into Xbox. And by the way, I think that like $69 billion is a huge number. $69 billion is an incredible amount of money that Xbox wound up paying for Activision Blizzard. But that's just the start. Like the actual number that you are paying is so much bigger than you could even imagine, because in addition to what you're paying for the acquisition itself, whatever closing costs and regulatory, like lawyer costs for the regulatory battles that come with it, you are also bringing in thousands, 10,000 new employees who all need to be paid and managed. And you need managers within the Xbox org to spend their time watching over that org.
Yes, Jason. But you're also making the money that those companies were making that you weren't making before. Do we forget about this? Like if I don't own the thing that's making $1 billion a month, but then I buy the thing and now I'm making a percentage of that $1 billion, like that's also coming in. So yes, you're spending money on the people that you bring in. You spent money for the actual acquisition. You spend money on the closing stuff, but now you're making the income that you weren't making before you made the purchase.
And suddenly your entire organization is way more expensive than it was a year ago. And those costs are not going away. They are continuing. So you got to consider that as well. If you want to know more about burn rates and why these game companies cost so much to operate, check out
I can't wait for him to do a video on Blizzard. I'm sorry, not Blizzard. Bungie, okay? Starting with B's here. All right, I can't wait for him to do a video on Bungie to tell about the burn rate.
My previous video about why games cost so much to make. But basic rule of thumb is that it used to be about $10,000 per employee per month. That number has gone up. I think it's closer these days, especially in expensive cities, to 15,000, maybe even 20,000, somewhere between those two. And
we're going to remember that number. We're going to remember that number because he just said about $15,000 to $20,000 an employee. So next time someone says the video game took 7 years to make and they have 1,000 employees, we're going to remember that number. We're always going to remember that number. See, I always learn something new, right? So $15,000 to $20,000 an employee per month.
And that number is not just salary. It also includes overhead and costs associated with employees. You can kind of fold rent into there, office rent into there. Benefits here in the U.S., employers have to pay a lot of money for health insurance and other benefits, including 401k matching and other things that...
That's exactly right, Sarge, right? Sarge says it shouldn't be more expensive. They were profitable before they acquired them. Hence why they acquired them, right? So... they were profitable when Microsoft bought them. They bought them, meaning they're just taking that profit now and bringing it into their, right, to offset the cost of what it is. It's exactly right. It was paying for itself and profit on top of that.
Employees like to have and deserve to have. So huge burn rate that is coming along with that $69 billion acquisition cost. And so that around then, around the time of that acquisition and suddenly the push for profitability, that's when we start to see things getting really bad. Xbox has 4 mass layoffs in 2 years. We see the...
So I have a question. Again, I understand the video game, the video here is about Xbox, right? How many studios and games has Sony canceled, right? They've closed, I think, 8 studios this generation, right, of this console. They've canceled 12 games. Xbox is the same. They've closed down like 6 studios, right? They've canceled like 7 games, right? This is an industry problem, my friends.
Shutdowns, the closures of studios under the Xbox umbrella. Like,
you know who hasn't shut down that many places and canceled that many games? That's right. Crazy Uncle Nintendo.
Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks, which wound up going to Crafton, which saved that studio. We see cancellations of big, expensive projects like Perfect Dark and Everwild and Blackbird, which is the code name that I reported at Bloomberg for the project that ZeniMax Online Studios was working on. They made Elder Scrolls Online, and they were working on this Blackbird thing, which, by the way, so I've seen footage of that game. It's pretty cool, and it's an online shooter. Destiny just died. And if Xbox had a game like Blackbird ready to go to kind of fill that void that Destiny has left, man, that could have been a hit.
Yeah, but you can't count on that, right? You're taking someone's word saying, "Oh, it was pretty good far along." We don't know what's good until we see it, and then the gamers say what's good and what's not. It could have been the next thing. It could have been the next Destiny, but we're banking on a what if moment. When a lot of games come out now, you're like, no thanks, right? Remember, just 10 months ago, people were raving about Battlefield 6. What's happening now? I'm sorry. Is Battlefield 6 still happening? Nobody cares about Battlefield 6. They've moved on, right?
I've heard nothing but good things about that game. Some of the people who are that game, granted, big, very expensive project, spent a lot of time in development, was having struggles of its own. But everything I've heard about that game is so positive that it's really a shame that
it's a nothing burger. You have no idea. We didn't see anything about it. Word of mouth. No point bringing it up.
That it was canceled, I think, because I think it could have helped fill a much needed gap.
Okay, let's say it came out and they're like, oh, big flop. What a waste of time. What a waste of money. They just took 7 years of development time and they didn't do anything with it. Could be the exact same story we're talking about right now. Right? Like you're propping up this game that nobody knew about, and because people said it was good, obviously the people that were making the game thought it was good. But we could be in the exact same scenario where you're like, they shouldn't have made Blackbird. They wasted their time with Blackbird. What a waste of money and time
for Xbox right now. But anyway, so more pressure for profitability. This is around the time that Xbox and the beginning of 2024 starts dabbling with Switch and PlayStation. Soon it's putting everything on multiple consoles as it tries to fix its P&Ls. Becomes much harder to get straight answers if you're working at one of these studios as to what your goals are, as to what you should be trying to do. Becomes much more complicated to get games greenlit. You're dealing with Xbox finance a lot and trying to figure out like why you're hearing different things depending who you ask. Remember at the beginning of this how I mentioned that Microsoft is this big complicated organization with a lot of different tentacles, a lot of people who have different goals and kind of their own like objectives that sometimes are in conflict with one another. That becomes even more pronounced at this point. You have, even within the Xbox org.
Crowd says, I mean, when a game gets canceled, do they just delete everything? I don't know. Let's ask Bungie. Their game didn't get canceled, and they deleted everything from the Red War. Like they misplaced it in the Lost Ark, Raiders of the Lost Ark museum type of thing, where like there's shelves and stuff. They don't know where their video is, and they were a profitable game, still making money, and they lost shit.
You have a lot of political fights, a lot of people who are at odds with one another, who are not on the same page. It is messy. The last couple of years at Xbox have been quite messy. People start openly questioning Game Pass and talking about how it cannibalizes their sales. And my colleagues say
it cannibalizes the sales of the games that are being made in Xbox. It doesn't cannibalize the sales of people getting paid to be on Game Pass. Does that make sense? Right? If I'm an independent developer and I put my game on Game Pass, again, we don't know, okay? We don't know how much they get paid. But do you think Vampire Survivor, right, was made for $1,500 and a case of beer, and it got put onto Game Pass? What do you think Game Pass paid to put Vampire Survival on Game Pass, or Microsoft paid Vampire Survivor to put it on Game Pass? Probably more than $1,500. Probably a couple $100,000, maybe even more than that. A couple hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So he got paid $5 million. They probably get paid $5 million. I don't know. Whatever they get paid, right? I don't know what they got paid, but he got paid. The game is $4 or whatever the hell it is, or $10, $12, right? He got money up front. Each one, Phil Spencer said when it happened, each deal's different. Okay. But if you're a third-party game and you get paid to get put onto Game Pass, you're not losing sales. You're getting paid what you think how many sales you would lose. So that's how they pay you to put it on Game Pass. Now, Starfield, Redfall, Oblivion, Outer Worlds, South of Midnight, these people are not getting sales, right? They're getting paid by the corporation making the company. So they're getting their salaries. So these people are making their salaries. And then the game comes out and makes the sales over there, but it's not being paid to be put on Game Pass. Hence why you can't have a $300 million first-party title game on Game Pass, because you're never going to make that money back. Right? You're making the money back. When they make $450 million a month on Game Pass, and they're only spending, I don't know, let's say $1 million, and they're putting, let's say, 10 independent games or smaller games on Game Pass, that makes fundamental sense, okay? $450 million. Obviously, it's not full profit. That's Gears of War E-Day, 7 years it was being made, and supposedly that budget's $400 million. That's what they made in 1 month of Game Pass. Okay, the Game Pass number doesn't make sense for high budget games and first party games because they're not making their money back. So if they're putting first party titles on there, Minecraft Dungeons is phenomenal to put on there because it doesn't cost $200 million to make that type of game, and they're going to make their money back off of that. Right, so that's a good Game Pass first party title. These other games are not good first party titles because they cost way too much.
Celia D'Anastasio at Bloomberg has reported on the huge numbers that are estimated, hundreds of millions that were estimated to have been lost on Call of Duty by putting that on Game Pass, because when you put a game on Game Pass, you are losing a lot of money as a result, even though you are again, like I said, different orgs have different, within the organization, different groups have kind of competing goals. And so what might be really good for the Game Pass folks and for subscriptions there might not be so good for individual studios and the revenue brought in from individual games. By the way, just a little quick side note is that the way the accounting works at Xbox is that you have if you're a game studio, you have your P&L, and the org actually attributes a certain amount within that P&L as revenue, imagined revenue essentially, for what you for the number of hours that people are playing your game on Game Pass. I believe they call it member weighted value is the term that they use.
So now he's going into more detail about Game Pass, right? Which we've talked about in the past. I said I think they get paid based on how much people play their game. Right again.
Microsoft has a lot of funny terms. Instead of profit margin, they call it accountability margin. And the big number there was 30%, as I've reported on Bloomberg with my colleague Dina Bass. And so on your P&L, on your profit and loss sheet, you might see a number that is hey, here's how much you would have made, or here's how much you're getting an attribution in revenue from being on Game Pass. And people question that number, I think, because it's all just kind of funny math.
But they got paid to be on Game Pass if it's third party. If it's first party, they're just showing you how many people engaged with it.
So it gets a little bit messy. And again, expectations are not 100% clear. A lot of people are just kind of unhappy with the situation. People have different beliefs throughout the org as to whether Game Pass really cannibalizes sales or not. I don't think there's you can't A/B test that sort of thing, so there isn't really evidence one way or another. But I think it's, to me, the eye test. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to me that if
I have a question, do they think? Let's take an example of what's a game that came out on. All right. Outer Worlds 2 that came out, right? Outer Worlds 2 came out. How many of you, no matter what console you're on, if you're on PC, if you're on PlayStation, you're on Xbox, how many of you, again, we're doing a small sample here, bought Outer Worlds 2? Probably 5 of you, if that. Okay. So Outer Worlds 2 was on PlayStation, was on PC, and people didn't buy it. Then people that played it, because it had 3 million people, but I think 2 million of those people were on Game Pass. How many of the people that tried it on Game Pass were going to purchase it on Game Pass? We're going to purchase it, but they didn't because it was on Game Pass. Or how many of those people just tried it because it was on Game Pass and were like, nah, I'm good. Right? The point I'm trying to make here is they think that it's lost sales. But there was people that weren't interested in the game for whatever reason. If it was a good game, bad game, didn't like who was talked about, they didn't like the company it was made, whatever the reason was. The people on Game Pass, which wasn't a lot, they've said it. They said the amount of players that played the game wasn't a lot. So did they lose those sales? Because I think a lot of people try stuff on Game Pass that would have never bought it. They're not going to buy it for $70, let alone $80 that they wanted to. $80 game. They said, oh, it's on Game Pass, I'll try it. Right? And then they're like, nah, I'm good. And I stopped playing it. So I guess they could have said, well, they would have bought it and then they would have just kept it because they can't return it. But people didn't want to play the game. So did they lose sales or did they at least make money for that person that tried it on Game Pass because they paid for the $20, $23 for that month, $30 at the time when it came out.
The game is on Game Pass, and you could buy it, or you could play it just by paying $10 for a couple of months, or you could spend $70 on it. That seems like a no-brainer choice. That you would just get Game Pass for a month or two instead. But I mean, this is not.
Let me rewind that for a second.
Buy it, or you could play it just by paying $10 for a couple of months, or you could spend $70 on it. That seems like a no-brainer choice. That you would just get Game Pass for a month or two instead. But I mean, this is all estimates. This is all just people kind of conjecturing. So yeah, things are bad. And then at DICE of this year, I was talking to someone in management at an Xbox studio who was.
That can't be true. There's management? No, all management sucks. There's no management. The way these companies have been running, I can't believe you talked to someone that was in management.
Like, this is paraphrased, but who was like, man, there's so much uncertainty. We don't really know like how to do proper planning as we're planning ahead for the next year, the next 2 years, the next 3 years. But like, I really trust Phil Spencer. I think he's a good leader. I think he has our backs. Roughly 1 week after that conversation, Phil Spencer was replaced by...
Do you think for 1 second that Phil Spencer just magically retired out of nowhere? No.
Asha Sharma, the new CEO who is currently running Xbox. And here we are. Asha Sharma has had a lot of time to go around, ask people questions. What she's done is really asked a lot of people for advice and their thoughts on the business. She's brought in new people. She's gotten rid of some people, and she is about to hit the reset button. She's used that word several times, reset. The full picture isn't yet clear, but it will be within the next few weeks. And one thing I want to end on is that you might see pundits out there pointing out that a lot of Xbox studios, including the ones that are going to get hit in this current reorganization, have struggled to come up with hits. We've seen a lot of games from the Xbox org that have...
Because that's true. By your own, I don't know what you're going to say next, but by your own admission, if they don't tell you the sales, then it's probably not good.
Not been profitable. Games like South of Midnight and Keeper, the Hellblade games have never really been huge hits. Kiln, which came out earlier this year, has really not found a player base. And that's a problem. Don't get me wrong. And also, I think
it's a major problem, right? I know we want to look at Microsoft as they're the bad guys and the devs are good guys. If you're an employee, yeah, we're playing the retro video game simulator type thing, right? And you're an employee and you're falling asleep on the job, am I supposed to feel bad for you and not fire you? Be like, I'll let it slide and let it happen again and again and again. If I paid money for your business, I say take risks, right? Come up with something original. They do, right? When I tell you that, I'm telling you to make a game that you think that was going to sell, not just some random thing that you think you want to make because it's artsy or whatever, right? You got to make something that you think it will sell. So South of Midnight comes out. They made a thing. They should have either just made it a platformer or they should have worked more on the combat because the combat was terrible. Terrible, okay? Regardless of what the story was, if you liked it or not, it didn't sell well. So that's strike one. Then they made the other game before South of Midnight. I forget what they made, right? But then there's did they make Bleeding Edge? Did they make Bleeding Edge? No, it was Hellblade, right? These games that come out, they're not making money. So strike one, strike two, strike three. When are they supposed to not go, hey, you know what? You've made 3 games for us now, and none of them sold. You're not profitable. Right? Oh, Double Fine. You made Keeper. You made Kiln. They're not doing well. Those are 2 games that you worked on for the last 3 years. They're not selling. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to just keep them on because there's employees? It's a business.
It's worth noting that like none of these games are like critically acclaimed masterpieces. None of them are 90+ Metacritic games that are winning Game of the Year or nominated for Game of the Year or anything like that. But I think it's worth noting and hopefully having a little bit of empathy for these studios and the people who work there, because the messaging from above has just changed so much over the last 5 years. And games start development like 4 or 5 years before they actually come out.
Used to be 2-3.
So when you start a project in 2020 or 2021 and that's under one mandate and suddenly that mandate changes 2 or 3 years later, but it's too late to change course, that can be a problem. And the messaging from above during a lot of this acquisition spending spree, when some of these projects started getting greenlit and started to enter development, the messaging was not, you must hit X amount of profitability. The messaging was, make good games, help us fill out Game Pass, try to win awards. Of course, don't lose money, break even. But like,
wait. Let's rewind here. Okay, so let's say they do that.
Greenlit and started to enter development. The messaging was not, you must hit X amount of profitability.
Okay.
The messaging was, make good games,
make good games. Okay, South of Midnight. Was it a good game? Speculative, right? Could have been a good game for you, maybe not.
help us fill out Game Pass.
Help us fill out Game Pass. So they put games on Game Pass. Great.
Try to win awards.
Try to win awards. Okay. All three things, right?
Of course, don't lose money.
Don't lose money. Now, you can put whatever you want in front of it. Win awards, put it on Game Pass, make a good game, whatever. That last one, don't lose us money. Don't lose us money. That goes back to management now. And management, while making the video game, has to keep costs down. And if their cost gets too high and they don't sell the amount of games they wanted to sell, they're going to lose money. And if they're losing money, that's a failure. And if you keep hurting the pocketbook that's paying for your stuff, well, something has to happen.
Even, but like this is not a profit play. This is kind of Game Pass is the North Star. Don't get me wrong here. I mean, Xbox's studios, including the ones that are getting shut down, are made plenty of their own mistakes and all sorts of production problems, all sorts of cost problems. I mean, there
that would be management problems.
Were lots of mistakes made along the way that you could point to. That's my laundry. My laundry is ready. See, I don't cut this stuff out. I record my videos raw. So hope you got that. That's a little inside baseball into
Fantastic.
the way that I work. Anyway, so a lot of these studios, trust me, they made plenty of their own mistakes, but like in a lot of ways, they're being punished today for following orders, for listening.
They're not being punished. People think they're I understand you take it personal. Everyone, I would assume, has lost a job at one point or time, right? And at that moment that you lose your job, you want to be mad, right? Because you're like, I did everything I could. But when you start to think about, well, did I do everything I could have done, right, to keep my job? Did I screw up ahead of time while they started looking at me to then, fire me? Okay? Like, you're not being punished. It's a job. You're making a thing. When the thing is done and it didn't make money, that thing is complete. Right? Maybe I just think differently because I was a freelancer for 20 years and I worked for who paid me, right? I didn't care that they made thousands and thousands of dollars after I worked on the project. I got paid for the project that I worked on. I got paid my salary for the thing I worked on. And if the thing grossed $50 million or if it grossed $100 million, I didn't see an extra cent. I got paid when I got paid, moved on. There was no like, oh, I can't believe you gave this person the job. I did the job that I was supposed to do. I got fired every time it got done. Not personally. The job is done. So you move on, right? And maybe in the gaming sphere, it's different because you're working for a studio and you're not freelance or whatever, right? And you're working for that studio. But people have to be accountable for what they've done. And if you make a product and it's over budget and it doesn't make money, well, that's the problem. You're not being punished. You just didn't do the job that was supposed to be done.
Listening to what they were told a few years ago. And that, I think, is just a shame. And what's happening is going to be pretty brutal. The word bloodbath has been thrown around among people that I talk to who know what
bloodbath. These people are not getting murdered. They're not being murdered. They're being let go. No royalties. It all depends on what you work on, Jax. Like if I'm a freelance producer and I produce a movie, there's points on the back end and stuff like that for you, right? There's deals and stuff like that. As a camera operator or first AC or as a sometimes like a director of photography might get some, points on the back end for movies and whatnot, or for shows, but for the most part, it's actors. They get royalty type of stuff, directors, producers, sometimes a director of photography, but the workers, as like if I was a developer, like if I was a dev, that's what I am. I'm a dev for the movie industry, right? I come in, I shoot the thing, I make the thing, right? And then I move on.
It's happening. It's going to be bad. So stay tuned. I'll be reporting more as I learn more on Bloomberg about who's being affected, how big the scope is. But those 3 studios that I mentioned are just the beginning. There's going to be more. There are a lot of negotiations going on right now. One more thing is that you might see headlines right now saying, hey, Xbox is shutting down X studio. And while that's kind of true, it's not entirely true because, again, all of these studio heads are in conversations, in negotiations with Xbox at the moment. In some cases,
yeah, they have to have buyers. And if they don't find buyers and Xbox can't sell them to somebody that wants to pay for them, they have to get closed down. So yes, it's rumored and they are in negotiations. But when we report it and say, yeah, it's not official yet, but these 3 studios are possibly closing down because they have to find buyers. And if they can't leave on their own accord and they don't need a buyer, they can buy themselves out and they can go freelance, right? Independent, I should say, not freelance. Independent, like if Double Fine pays the money, they find an investor. The investor says, yeah, I'll pay for it. Now they're owned by the investor, right? They're separated from Microsoft now, but Double Fine would be by themselves. But now they owe the person that paid the money. If it's a bank, if it's an independent person, whoever it is, they now answer to that person until they can buy out their stuff or they're independent. If they can't find a buyer, Microsoft's like, all right, well, we got to go bye-bye. That's what they did with Tango Gameworks.
Cases we might see studios spinning off. In some cases, we might see studios trying to find other buyers, like other publishers who might be interested in them. So it's not like nothing has been kind of executed just yet. That is going to happen in a few weeks. So again, the full picture is not entirely clear. We will see it happening soon. We will find out more in the next few days and weeks. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of turmoil. And man, it's just so hard to be an Xbox employee right now, to not know what's going on, to have to hear rumors on the internet that are like not entirely true, or
get off the internet. Don't go on the internet.
Or not secure, not like corroborated or confirmed, just people being like, oh, I heard this studio might be in trouble, which may very well turn out to be true, but is really, really bad to just be hearing and really hard to.
First thing I do, if I was an employee and I happened to go on the internet to hear that my job was going to be, I would walk up to the manager that day and say, is it true? Is it true? I'd be like, is what true? I saw on the internet that we were all getting fired. Is this true? Be like, not that I know of. Okay, cool. Right? Instead of just sitting there in your cubicle going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Now, they could lie to your face, and that would be a different step going forward if you've asked the question, what's happening? Now, obviously, you don't say it in the middle of the floor. Hey, is it true? Are we getting fired? No, you don't do that. You go to your manager and go, hey, is it true? Tim, is it true? Are we getting fired? Are we getting shit canned? Or is this what's really happening? Afraid so. Cool. Thanks for letting me know. Right? And then you look for a different job. Right? Instead of just sitting there and just imagining things in your head and making the worst case scenarios in your head going, oh my God, just go ask. And if they tell you no, and you're not sure at that point, look for a different job. Yeah, fucking Tim, right?
To make great games under those conditions. And by the way, if you're wondering, one of the reasons that Xbox has had such a struggle over the last decade making great games is because of a lot of this uncertainty. It's very hard to make great art when you were working under fear of layoffs and turbulence and shutdowns and cancellation. And
yeah, but God, I'm gonna tell you this from an art point of view, right? Again, in the film industry, when someone rings me up and says, "Hey, we need a camera operator. This is the day rate. This is what we're shooting," right? I'm like, "All right, cool." Right? I say yes or no up to that point. When I show up on film set, I'm not worried about, do they have funding? Do they have stuff? I'm assuming because they told me that I would get my day rate and stuff, that's what they're paying me. So now I show up on the movie set or the TV set or the commercial, and I do my job. I'm not worried about what the director's doing. I'm not worried about what the manager's doing. I'm not worried about what the producer's saying and what's happening. The only thing I'm worried about is my job. And my job is when they say action, okay, and I'm doing the focus pulling and doing my job, at the end of that, then I'm done with my job. I'm not worried about, did that person do his job correctly? That's not my concern. My concern is doing my job. That's it. And then at the end of the day, I'll say, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And they call me up and go, "Hey, you don't need to come back today. We're done shooting. We're out of money, whatever." And be like, "All right, cool. Where you can send my check," right? That's it. I'm not worried about every single day while I'm making something going, "God, I wonder what Jared's doing over there. Are we going to lose our jobs? What's going to happen?" Like, it makes no sense to me that you could be in this business and still be, like, wondering what's going on. Just do your job. You're an artist. Make cosmetics. Make the world environment. Well, I don't know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow. Well, you have a job today, so keep working.
Just trying to make games under these conditions. That's not how you make good stuff. All right, we will find out more soon. And man, just yeah, I don't know what to say. It's gonna be bad. God,
I don't mean to laugh. I'm not laughing at people losing their jobs, right? I laugh because there's people that are more. There's people that defend other people when the other people are not offended. Or there's people that defend people when there's something and they don't even know what the thing is. They're mad and they think it's a bloodbath and they think it's a thing. But the people that are working in the actual industry, they have connections. They've met people. They know people. They can get another job. If your job is good and you work for a company, I don't care if you work for Compulsion, if you work for Double Fine, if you work for Ninja Theory, your resume is your resume. You go to a studio, yes, trying to find that position, right? Be like, "Yeah, this is my work." Great. I mean, I'm so confused by this. People have been sheltered their entire life. They've never had any kind of turmoil or anything. They just think everything is. They walk around like the people in Planet Coaster. You ever see Planet Coaster? People walk around the parks. They're like, right? That's the way people walk around the world. Amazing. Bloodbath, devastation. They're just closing a studio, and oh, look over there. There's 5 other studios that are making video games. Oh, look over there. There's 10 more studios making video games. Oh, look at that. One guy is making a video game. Oh, look over there. 5 people making a video game. Amazing. Aku says, Stardate 32109.13. People lost their minds today over video games. Unity as a race used to be prized. Now we get mad over games. Am I heartless, Mo? You know what I mean? Like, when they use the words bloodbath, they're not being slaughtered. right? It just makes a really good title, Bloodbath, right? It's someone losing their job, and if they're good at their job, they're going to get another job. Yeah, it's shitty that people lose their jobs. Aqua also says Xbox dead, minus the fact that Xbox had the best showcase this year. It's crazy. All right, going to the next one. Going to the next one is we're going to watch State of Decay 3. Now, we're not watching gameplay of State of Decay 3. There is a video, Mr. Luke sent it to me, of 72 minutes of just pure gameplay. Okay. I didn't want to watch that. I wanted to watch this gentleman who's called Sunny Games. Sunny Games has 33.4 thousand subscribers. Linked in the description down below. Jason Schreier's links in the description down below. Want to support these gentlemen? Go to their channels. Give it a like. Give it a sub. Watch some of the other stuff. This is from 3 days ago. He said, new major State of Decay 3 details emerge. Now, he went to the studio, talked to the guys, played the actual game, okay? So we're going to look, okay? We're going to look at this video talking about State of Decay 3 and see what he has to say. Let me make sure it's not at 1.5. Eclipse says, and you should never live above your needs. If you lose your job, and you should be able to survive for at least 2 months with the savings and all that. 100%. But you think people save? You think people save, Eclipse? Pip, look, it's shitty when you lose your job. I lost my job every time I got done with the job. Every time I got done with the job, I was unemployed. While I was on set, okay, while I'm on set, I'm looking for my next job. That's how it works in the film industry. While I'm working, in between shots, we go for a break. I'm on the phone. I'm free from this time and that time. Constantly hustling, constantly trying to get my next job. Making connections on the job I'm on, making connections for the next job I have. All right, here we go.
All right, so some of State of Decay 3's biggest questions were just answered in a recent podcast that feature head of studio Philip Pope and art director Wayne Laybourne. And I got to say, guys, State of Decay 3 really is shaping up, and it's coming, guys. And this game is not as far as people think. Let's dive straight into...
Not as far as people think. Well, since I played State of Decay 1, and since I played State of Decay 2, and I know how they came out when they launched, I'm going to say this game's going to come out early. Not going to be complete, and within 18 months, it'll be an actual complete game.
Some of the new info, though. Let's start with characters in the game and vehicles. Now, with vehicles, Philip goes on to talk about how there is varied cars. For example, some are going to have more storage, more trunk space, but they're going to have terrible fuel. Sedans with better gas, but less space. There's an SUV that has better off-road capabilities and might even have more trunk space, but again, bad gas. He goes on to describe vehicles as kind of like your mobile base. And now here's the thing about driving in State of Decay 3 and my experience. Quite a few people say it has leveled up immensely that have tested the game. I think they're correct. Now, with games...
What did he say? Hold on.
And now here's the thing about driving in State of Decay 3 and my experience. Quite a few people say it has leveled up immensely that have tested the game. I think they're correct. Now, with games like this, I don't notice the driving unless it's bad. So think of like games like Grand Theft Auto or Cyberpunk, a game that's really not about the driving, but more about...
Driving in Grand Theft Auto is good. There's weight behind the cars. People love driving in Grand Theft Auto.
That being your transportation that takes you to the things that you really want to do in the game. It's one of those things where if it works and I don't notice it, then it's probably pretty well built in your game.
That's how most things work, right? And I'm not making funny what Sonny's saying here, right? But that's how most things work. Like if you're watching a movie and you don't notice the cuts or you notice the music, but you're not listening to the music. It all blends together. That's when movies are good. Like when you're just in that moment, nothing breaks your immersion at that point. It means it's good.
State of Decay 3 for me nails that. But I will say there is quite a few members who are testers who really enjoy the driving in State of Decay 3. For me, it just works. Now, one thing that was mentioned in this podcast, vehicles in 3 are coming in with different skins.
At the time when we were making the trailer, we've started developing skins, you know, for the different vehicles, for the characters, for the back.
I hear skins. I hear money. Is there microtransactions in this game, or is it just skins that you earn in the game?
Packs, all the gear and stuff. So that just happened to be one of the ones that we'd done as a test.
Oh, nice.
If the hardcore, I'm sure the freeze framing and looking at, they might see something that looks like Red Talon on the side.
Okay.
It's not like Red Talon's going to be like a big part, but it's just part of that same thing again. Like
It's a nice nod.
Part of the world.
it's just like when we talk about stuff as artists and designers and stuff, we're just sort of like, what would be left over in this world? What if? Oh, if we got that? What if you know? And you just sort of we just play in there, and that was one of those skins that we had, and it looked pretty cool.
And yeah, you can see they've been built up over the years in the apocalypse, and visually you'll notice what they're kind of good at. Some will have extra storage space that's, you know, built upon them. The question though that I kind of have that I really can't answer is there going to be customizable cars? And that hasn't been divulged yet. They do look customizable here, but they aren't really saying one way.
Question is, do I need a customizable car and there's actual function to it, or do you want a customizable car just to sort of like No Man's Sky or Starfield, where you can make your own starships? You can make your own car. Is that what she's asking for? I don't think that's needed in State of Decay, in any State of Decay. I think a post-apocalyptic world, you would find the car and then just pre-built, like you'd be like, oh, you've unlocked the luggage and you can put the luggage on there.
Or another. That's kind of the big question right now, and one that I do.
But if I put the luggage on there, it better have more fuel efficiency. I don't want just cosmetic skin to make it look cool. I want it on there. Like the bumper, you find the bumper, you put the bumper on the car, now you can plow people without damaging your car, right? I don't want it there just cosmetically looking, it's there to look cool. I want it to have actual function if you're going to add stuff like this into the game.
Hope they do answer at some point, but yeah, I think the vehicles look great, they drive great, and they've been awesome. But one of the bigger parts for me here was about characters. Philip talks about this in the podcast, but he actually says something that I'm not sure a lot of people caught. Take a listen to this.
And the clothing system has to work with our procedurally generated characters. And so every character in the world is assembled. And so there's really no two of the same.
So
So it's just like the other ones. You don't make a customized character. It's just randomized.
Says the clothing system has to work with our procedurally generated characters, and that no two characters are the same. I've been getting questions about how characters work, and can you actually create your own character? Well,
no, because you're playing people in the world, like State of Decay 1 and State of Decay 2.
keep in mind, you were really never able to do that in 2. So far what I've played in State of Decay 3 is fully procedurally generated characters. And I have not created a character. And I know that's
I don't think this is just my opinion. I don't think you should be able to create a character. I like the fact that you find people in the world and you bring them into your community. Because if you make a character, then you just want to play your character, right? But you're playing a whole community inside your base, inside the world.
question people have. It's basically been confirmed there is no type of create a character right now in State of Decay 3. Now, whether that's something they implement one day or not, I'm not too sure. They've actually talked a lot about this, within their studio, and they've been pretty steadfast with me as far as kind of like they really like the system of randomness when it comes to the survivors, especially now that it's been years down the road in the apocalypse, and these characters have survived for a long time now. But the good news is that customizing these procedurally generated characters in the way of outfits is absolutely in the game. As you can kind of see here with these various screenshots across the board, you see patched up clothes, jackets. We get more pictures of in-game weapons as well. You see the guns that are modded. My favorite is kind of like this yellow jacket character. I mean, my name is Sunny, so I really like my clothes yellow. But yeah, the characters are
Come on, Sunny. You're wearing black right now. Sorry.
Procedurally generated. I will say at least let us customize within the parameters that they have. So for example, I would really like to have beards and haircuts and things of that nature, really, being able to customize those. Now, I'm not saying that
I don't care about that either. I don't care about customizing my characters, especially if I'm not making characters. If I find a person in the world and they join my community, I want to know their traits. I want to know why they're better, why I need them in my community, right? If one's a chef, one's a mechanic, I don't care what they look like. That's the whole story. The story is these people are living in a post-apocalyptic world. I don't care what they look like. I don't care about customization. Now, I know I'm talking about myself here, right? But what has State of Decay done from State of Decay 1 to State of Decay 2 to State of Decay 3? I don't want to make any characters. I'm okay with them just popping in the world and going, I want him because he looks cool or he has a cool, like, mechanic that he needs to do, that I need for my community.
That's something you can or can't do in State of Decay 3. I'm not giving you that answer, but, you know, I just want to go ahead and talk.
Wait, he's not giving us what answer?
At nature, really, you know, being able to customize those. Now, I'm not saying that's something you can or can't do in State of Decay 3. I'm not giving you that answer, but, you know, I just want.
Not giving the answers. Kind of given the answer.
I want to go ahead and talk in a general sense because I know collectively, I think I speak for all of us, that's something we absolutely want to see and should see in State of Decay 3. Now, the guys go on to talk about some of the settlements and cities, and one of them is Wind City, and that's the base you see in the trailer, but he again focuses on the wind turbine and how that gives free power.
And then we had a choice to make about a settlement to include. So as the guy phones home and he needs help from his friends, they gear up at their home base, and there's a lot of bases to choose from in the game. Yeah. But we picked one. We picked this place called Wind City. It's up on a hill. It's got a wind turbine, and it was like a former like wind power generator. And there's a settlement built around it now, and they get free power out of the settlement.
So again, energy, and I've mentioned this in the previous video that I've done. They are hinting energy is a thing. Now, how?
Yeah, but in State of Decay 2, you could just get well, I guess energy wasn't a thing, but fuel was a thing. It's just another raise the bar, just another thing in the game that you can use to power up your stuff.
Oh, is it a thing and how does that work, or how the system of it works? That's kind of the key, right? Also, each settlement and base will have its own unique benefit from what it was prior to the apocalypse. So, you know, a question that I get asked a lot is there going to be some sort of like free form base building? As you guys can hear from this,
now that is something I would be interested in. Not the customization of the people, but a free-forming customization, which means I would have to go out and find supplies, right? I would have to find the metal to make that thing. Maybe you find an actual one of these facilities at somewhere else and you have to move it. Maybe you have to get a truck or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm okay with making customized bases out in the middle of nowhere. That's fine.
Basically saying you will have bases to choose from. So very similar to what you're used to in
So that's what they already have in the game.
So hopefully now that kind of puts that question to bed here. Now another aspect to the.
So he's saying there is no base building.
They're going to be
just
some
predetermined
sort of like
bases.
free form base building. As you guys can hear from this, he's basically saying you will have bases to choose from. So very similar to what you're used to in State of Decay 2. So hopefully now that kind of puts that question.
Okay, so there is no customizable bases then. It's just prefab bases.
To bed here. Now, another aspect to this podcast was showcasing the town Caroline. You get this like beautiful piece of art here showcasing the town itself. In the trailer, we see Wyatt, we see Juno.
I would like them, instead of building bases, what about if I could build like fences or walls? Right? And yes, that's sort of building a base, but you can make us pick up or chop down trees or pick up wood or find wood because you already do that in the game already. You find supplies. That'd be cool if I could place down like walls and fences. So like if I take over this gas station, it's too open. Maybe I can fence it off to make it more protected.
No gas station. I've seen all these places personally. I gotta say, environmentally though, the game is just so like there's so vast, and it's really cool that when I saw these here and I saw this in the podcast and then when I saw the stuff in the trailer, I recognize all of it, and that's good because these towns in State of Decay 3 are sticking out to me where, you know, there is so much to explore in the game that it could be easy to forget a lot of things, but for me they
like if I find a tow truck, right? If I find a tow truck, I can take the broken down cars on the road, tow them back to my base, and then break them down. You know what I mean? Like use those as tools or as supplies and whatnot. That'd be interesting.
They have really stood out.
No, it's a co-op game, Crowded. The third one's going to be a 4-player co-op game, sort of like the second one.
And I really remember these areas, and when I instantly saw them, they were just boom, I saw them. So I got to say the art team has done a great job on the game itself, especially on the town. So a nod to them. Now another
it is untethered. So you can that I did see that part in that podcast. He did talk about that you could, because in State of Decay 2, if you get too far away from each other, you get warped to the person where he's at. In this one, it's free roam. You can freely go around the map without getting teleported.
Aspect talked about was weather, and we saw rain in the latest trailer. I'm glad this was touched on because I mentioned in my last video how rain so far has, for me, had no impact when it's happened in my playthroughs. But yes, weather is now present. But interestingly, on my live stream with Philip answering questions to the chat, this was recent, he confirmed rain does currently have an effect on gameplay, which
Okay, if rain has effect on gameplay, let me just go back to this, and maybe this is early on.
saw rain
You notice
in the
when
latest
he's
trailer. I'm
when the rain's
glad
falling,
this
it's not hitting the ground, and there's no puddles, right? There's no mud. You're not getting the sensation of what like Snow Runners does, where the mud starts to turn. It's really hard to get through certain places, right? You're not seeing any
on because
raindrops
mentioned in my
build up
last
on the
video
ground, so meaning the floor is
how
not
rain
wet.
so-
Now they could put in when rain is falling that your car swerves a little bit more and stuff,
far
but you
has,
don't
for
see
me,
it like it's raining right now.
no
You don't see any kind of build
when
up.
it's happened.
It's almost like the filter you put on when you're doing a video editing and you put rain in the scene. It's just a filter on top. It's not actually engaging, but he does say here
in my playthroughs.
It
But
does
yes,
affect.
weather is now present. But interestingly, on my live stream with Philip answering questions to the chat, this was recent, he confirmed rain does currently have an effect on gameplay, which I gotta say, I've never noticed it. So let me give you an example. Maybe the floor is slippery when you're
Right.
driving because of the rain. Philip basically told me personally, this is currently a thing, even though I've never noticed it. Now, the guy asking questions in the interview asked if rain would maybe mask you from the zombies visually or have a greater impact on the world itself as it.
well, you would actually be able to, if it does have effect in the world, if it's raining, you would be able to move without being heard because the rain's being heard, right? But also it should affect you is that you're wet now, meaning is there a system that makes you survive or get wet and you have to keep warm and whatnot? I know I'm asking for a lot, just asking questions though.
Happening. And in the podcast, Philip says it's a system that maybe post-launch they can go ahead and add down the line. But the key here is that whether is a system in the game they want to expand upon post-launch as far as how it interacts with the
Oh, there you go. So there's one thing when the game comes out that it won't be out when the game is out, and they'll add it later, meaning 18 months.
world.
Is the
different
weather going to
skies and
impact
stuff.
things like more than just like audio and sound? Like, are we going to see it affect the world around us a little bit? Like, are we easier to be seen, or I'm sorry, the opposite? Would it be harder to be seen in rain or anything?
Well,
like that?
so like everything in State of Decay, weather is built on a system,
Yeah.
which means that it can interact with any other system in the world.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we can't really make any commitments about whether weather will impact gameplay in those ways at launch, but it's built in a way that it will. And so it doesn't make it for launch, it'll make it later as we support the...
They're going to come out with an early preview. The way he's saying, listen to the way he says it again.
Whether weather will impact gameplay in those ways at launch, but it's built in a way that it will. And so it doesn't make it for launch, it'll make it later as we support the game.
I think this game's coming out sooner rather than later, and it's going to be in like a preview program type of thing like Grounded 2.
That's exciting.
Post-launch.
I also think this applies to other weather elements, and I'm going to have to do kind of some questioning, some digging on this because I'm a little bit unclear about weather currently in State of Decay 3. And I will say this is kind of me being ignorant to a degree because currently, like I said, when I drive in State of Decay 3 and it's raining, I seriously don't notice any handling issues or anything really affecting my gameplay. So this is something that I want to get to know a little bit further myself. The interesting part is that this was something that was talked about when I was at Undead Labs this past weekend in Seattle, and that is that weather being a huge topic and it affecting gameplay in the world around you. And I think that would be really cool at some point. Let me give you guys some examples of what the hell I'm talking about. For example, it's snowing and the weather literally affects your food income and your resources and your water. I'm hoping at some point,
That'd be cool.
even though weather is in the game currently, that it really does have a societal effect around your community in a bigger way.
Right, because if it's raining, in your society, you have rain barrels and stuff like that. So if it rains, then it would be cool because then you can get water.
So again, another example, if it rains, we should be able to collect water from that, right? And I'm glad he mentions looking to add post-launch, because truth is, guys, there's going to be quite a bit of things that we aren't going to see at launch, features and things that some of you guys are really hoping for or you're very much expecting, but we will see post-launch. And what are those things? Well, you know, I can't talk about it, but I'll be sure to kind of be like the first guy complaining about it down the line when I'm allowed to, and there is no longer an NDA tied to myself. But stay tuned, because while I love this game, it's not going to launch perfectly. And
what did I tell you, chat? What did I tell you, chat? This game is not going to go perfectly. It's not going to be a complete game at launch. None of the State of Decay games have been, and I love State of Decay. State of Decay 1, State of Decay 2 were not complete at launch. This is not going to change.
there is going to be things that are missing. So just kind of keep that in mind. And it looks like this weather thing is one of those things, but this could be a whole nother video and we'll touch on it at a later date. Now, Philip starts talking about enemies and zombies, and we've touched on this before. Zombies are coming in varied. Some slowed, decayed, some sad looking and depressed and easy to kill. Some others are going to be fast, dangerous. Ironically, something I haven't talked about anywhere is zombies in State of Decay 3 are much more of a threat. They are more dangerous than they have ever been. Now, the thing about that is that they could be more of just where they are in the game right now as far as development, like the zombies being so dangerous. For example, right now, if a zombie hits me in State of Decay 3, it actually hurts a lot. And if I get bit, it's devastating in many ways. Now, how? Outside of damage, there's actually some other systems at play that make it very hard, the whole thing. And it's one of the main reasons why State of Decay 3 for me is way harder than previous games. And again, I'm just talking about the zombies themselves. This is all without actually touching on the freaks and how they're more evolved and how that looks a lot more as far as danger. So there's a lot of things at play here. There's a lot of things I can't divulge, but yeah, zombies are no joke. But he moves on a little further in this podcast and talks about the bloater. He actually mentions how you can light up bloater bile on fire. I think that's really cool. They actually show some screenshots of how the bloater looks and works. Side note, I always laugh at looking at a bloater body because it's almost like they cloned my body in real life and took inspiration for the bloater and its shape, and it kind of reminds me of how terrible I look. It actually makes me kind of depressed. But yeah, they also showcase the feral in all its glory as well. I've mentioned that, man, these dudes, these ferals, they're bad. They're super bad, and they're still one of the ones that I'm scared of the most. If you're new to State of Decay, the reasons that these ferals are so scary is
ferals are the worst, man. Ferals are the worst in State of Decay 2.
Because you can't outrun them. You have to fight them. And in 3, their movements for me are very unpredictable. It's the only freak that I haven't been able to understand yet in State of Decay 3. That and a little bit of...
Do you think they would add more tanking zombies, mini bosses in State of Decay 3? Perhaps. I mean, it looks like that's what he's about to tell us or show us.
Juggernauts as well. And I actively cannot avoid these. And I have to hope I have guns if I run into a feral in State of Decay 3. Now, the next part was insightful. The plague nests, which are absolutely my favorite thing about State of Decay 3. He mentioned something that is new. He says plague hearts from State of Decay 2, you know, the things that we were battling hardcore last game, are now just nodes on this network that lead you to these massive infestations, and that it's 4 to 5 to 6 times bigger.
Cool.
And then we haven't talked about the plague nest itself.
Yeah.
And so in State of Decay 2, you know, the plague heart was sort of the biggest, baddest thing that you would encounter. And it's this giant meat pinata, I guess. You just bang on it until you get some spoils. But those are just like now nodes on this network that lead you to this massive infestation.
Oh.
Yeah. So the size of these infestations is like 4, 5, 6 times bigger than you can imagine from a plague heart.
And I think he's talking about the plague nests are almost 6 times bigger than just you encountering a heart in 2, which honestly, for me, there's no comparison. But the fact that he mentions nodes, hearts are just nodes now, is correct. State of Decay 2, you're zipping around trying to take out these plague hearts, but now these plague hearts are still around, but they're part of something much larger and much more dangerous, and that's a plague nest. On a side note, plague hearts in 3 are still just as dangerous as they are in 2. Just want to kind of throw that out there. Then he talks about blister nodes, which if my editor can zoom in on this, this was in the State of Decay 3 trailer that just released. This is what I like to call like a plague pimple, and it's just they're dangerous, as I've talked about before. And then there's these things called spitters, cars, or he mentioned spitters. This hasn't been revealed yet. It's something new, and he gave no context, so I won't give any context other than something that spits things. I'm sure it will be revealed in due time.
There's, there's blister nodes that will pop and blow up and spew gas, and there's spitters, and there's all these different elements to this gunk, this biologic mass that's trying to kill you.
Then he says the whole
You have no idea what's going on right now, Bo?
whole thing is something that's kind of coming to your door, as in the whole plague nest system. Again, I want to showcase.
I wonder if the plague system, if you don't get to it, if it just keeps spreading out from the center of it, and it gets harder and harder as you take your time getting to it.
It's the heart attack update and how the plague network there got smart. It would head towards your base. It would actively try to kill you. And I'm just doing this to give you guys kind of a visual of what you should picture, or what you could picture for State.
Yeah, because if you didn't take care of it, it would come towards it. So I wonder if the plague, the giant plague, comes and spreads out from the inside.
State of Decay 3. Now, it's not exactly like this how it looks in State of Decay 2. 3 doesn't look exactly like this, but I still want to give you guys something to take a look at. Going further, he talks about how the nests essentially do get stronger, and when you decide to go after these nests, you need to be prepared yourself, and he's absolutely correct. The decision to attack a nest is a big one, and it's how the majority of the council has lost its characters, because then Philip describes attacking a nest is like a raid, and he is on the money here. It's like attacking what I've described personally like a plague dungeon. Now, one question I've been getting out of this since these have been revealed, these plague nests, is can you solo these things? And absolutely, but it's very hard, especially if you let these.
It's bad game design. I'm gonna say it right now. If it's super hard and you need people to do it, because if it's a raid and you don't have, they better make it where online I can ask for help if I don't have friends. Do you know what I mean? Like if I don't have friends that are playing the game, but I want to play the game and I want to do the nest, it should be able to where I pull in other people that could help me out.
Plague nests grow and become stronger, because you do got to keep them at bay. Oftentimes I have to like go out, and when I get to these plague nests, I have to take out these weak points. But and
I'm not saying you can't not solo it. What I'm saying is for the mass people that are playing it, they'll play up into the game until they get to this, and they'll be like, oh, I can't beat it, because maybe they're just not good enough, right? Or they don't have enough supplies, and then you're just stuck. It's like a soft game lock, basically.
Battle has been so hard just taking out the weak points, then I have to fall back and regroup. Meanwhile, the world is still happening. It's not a passive world. The world is still trying to kill you, and it's still coming after you, and it's a time commitment and a resource commitment to go after a plague nest, because there's also consequences to just doing that. Being too slow at anything right now can get you killed and can get your community killed. I wish I could give you guys more and maybe be a little bit more specific, but this whole system is super fun, and I have not gotten tired of it, at least not yet. Finally, the last thing that I want to talk about that happened in this podcast is something that Philip talked about, which is about the single player experience. I've been getting a lot of people that have been really worried that the game is centered and geared right now for multiplayer.
Although I will say, as much as we wanted to focus on that, we also started the trailer with just a single player.
Yeah.
And because we want to signal to the audience that this is still a great game to play as a single player experience.
Totally.
And probably a majority of our players will play the game single player. And so it's great to play that way, but it's also really fun to play with your friends.
Now, Philip emphasizes that this is going to be a great single player experience, so don't worry. And
great single player experience up until you do a plague heart.
he recognizes that the majority of players are going to play single player. Now, the thing that people should know, though, is multiplayer right now is on a new scale. It's different for Undead Labs. So part of what they are hoping is that the multiplayer is going to have a more broader appeal, and a lot more people are going to play the game because of it. So in general, it's kind of like a new beast for them too, to kind of test and balance between single player and multiplayer. So yeah, there is an emphasis on how this is new, it's exciting, but they are fully aware that single player is where a lot of their bread is buttered as far as a lot of people enjoying this game. And I can tell you guys from my experience, the single player portion of this, it's not taking a back seat in any way, shape, or form. And if it was, nobody would be more vocal than me that they are going in the wrong direction. So I really want you guys to not worry too hardcore about this. I'm making sure personally that the single player experience is fun, and I can safely say that almost.
Does it become too easy with co-op?
I think I'm like 80 to 90 hours playing State of Decay 3. Literally, I think 80 of those are me doing single player. Finally, there was talks of alphas and betas in the podcast. The next alpha is apparently happening soon. And after that second alpha, there's going to be betas, it looks like, as they go on their road to launch. And if you haven't already, head to playtest.stateofdecay.com and sign up, especially if you're a PlayStation user. I'm sure they're going to need testers there as well. And guys, be very open to testing out multiplayer because they need testers for that. And if you put only single player, I think your chances are going to be diminished. And that's just kind of my guess. That's because they really want to test multiplayer out. And again, no one's told me this. This is just my personal guess. And that's because I really feel like they're emphasizing needing a lot of multiplayer testing. And the reason that is because they know that a lot of the multiplayer players are going to test single player anyways. So it only helps if you are willing to be a multiplayer tester. And this is just kind of like some inside knowledge here as you guys are subscribers to this channel. So I want to make sure I'm giving you guys kind of a leg up over anyone else. It was also revealed recently by Philip that the next alpha is Steam only, but that the future betas are going to have console testers from Xbox and PlayStation. This was recently revealed by Philip here, so good to know on that. All right, we're going to wrap up this video. I did a live stream about a day ago, and Philip Holt joined my chat. He revealed various items that I want you guys to know. Maybe the biggest one was news to me was that Philip says that you will be able to do single player offline. So now going forward, we know that, and that's great because I actually was worried.
That's huge. That's huge. Playing single player offline, that's a big win.
You couldn't, and if you would have asked me before he told me this on this live stream, I would have guessed that you did need to be online. So I was really happy to hear this. Another thing that was revealed is that betas are going to be all closed. There is no plans for a future open beta. So you are actually, if you
know, the open beta will be once they launch it on Xbox. For the preview program, that'll be open beta.
Want to play this game early, you're going to have to really hope you get into one of these alphas or betas. Now, this right here really surprised me. This was shocking. Philip says he doesn't know if they're going to be at the upcoming January Developer Direct. He says it would be cool though, but that he doesn't get to decide. And I have to say, I have almost no doubts Xbox is going to feature this game this January. I'm banking and betting a lot of money that we will see a big breakdown of this game in January, but I was shocked to hear from Philip himself. He doesn't know if they're going to be there. To me, that was kind of nuts to see. So wow, hopefully they are going to be there though. I'm betting on it. Now a little later in my stream, this was a little bit kind of something random from Philip. He goes on to say that there's going to be no more car cheese, as in like avoiding ferals and zombies by climbing cars. That's not going to be a thing in State of Decay 3. And I got to say, so far he's right. I have not been able to cheese in any way as far as like my gameplay is concerned. And finally, someone asked Philip about...
I have a question, though. Why is it cheesing? I mean, obviously, they can make him jump on top of the car. But if I get on top of a building and fight the feral, that cheesing? That's pretty smart, right? If I'm in real life getting away from someone that's trying to murder me, and I get up on top of a car to try to get away from them, is that cheesing being murdered? I don't know.
The bounty broker in State of Decay 3. Philip went on to say that they are not ready to talk about it. So there you go. There was a lot of insightful stuff coming out of Undead Labs though this week from Philip himself, from this podcast, from the trailer. And I gotta say, guys, there just like isn't many secrets left to this game. And honestly, very, very, very few major secrets left. So I feel like you guys have a big scope of what this game's all about. So let me know everything that you guys have heard of from this point on. What do you guys think about State of Decay 3? I have a lot of thoughts that I want to go further into a lot of the systems, but that'll be for the next video. But let me know what you guys think.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it. Not excited about it. I got a lot of questions. There is gameplay, but we're not going to watch that. We're not going to watch the gameplay today. What do you guys think about State of Decay? Are you excited about State of Decay 3? You're not excited about State of Decay 3? The big things I got from here is that it's not going to be complete when it's done. It's going to be a launch, and then it's going to slowly they're going to add stuff to it. I don't know. The first one was like that, bug fixes wise. The second one was like that with bug fixes wise. The game didn't really get fixed until about 18 months afterwards. That's why I feel like that's how they did 1, that's how they did 2, and that's how they're going to do 3. So when it comes out, just be warned that the game probably won't be fully launched at 1.0. It'll be 1.0 18 months later. Jesse Mack says, no, it's not cheesing at all. You're smart enough to do it. That's what I'm saying, right? Like, I understand they built the code and you get up on top of a car and you can't kill the person. I mean, I usually just go after them, but at the same time, it's like you can't cheese with the car where you take the car and try to hit them. They dodge out of the way right at the last second. They put that in the system in State of Decay 2. But if I jump on the car and then they program the feral to jump like at me, you know, and harpoon me and stuff off the car, that's not, you know, that's fine. There's always a way to cheese stuff as per se. But again, in a survival world, I don't know if that's actually cheesing. Again, if I'm going up against a Hulk, why would I stay on the ground and shoot him when I can get up on top of a building and shoot him? You know what I mean? That's cheesing, sure, but that's smart. I'll give it a try once it's in Game Pass. Yeah, well, it comes to Game Pass day one, so unless that changes. You sent me an article for a question, but that's not what's next in the show. Yeah, that has nothing to do with what I want to talk about next. The next thing we're going to talk about is Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2, when it came out, everybody loved it. Everybody loved it, right? Then we had the 1.0 Sony trying to make us sign up for stuff, and then they had to win the fans back. Then they got the fans back, but then they started putting stuff in and not listening to the fans, and they lost the fans again. Then they brought it back by fixing the stuff, and they're like, we're listening, we got this, and now we're at the point again where Helldivers 2 is in the shitter. The person that we're listening to right now is Why I Hate Helldivers 2 is Zod3D. He's got 9,044 subscribers, or 440 subscribers, and he's going to tell us why Helldivers is in the state that it's in right now.
Helldivers 2 is a one-of-a-kind game. When it released, it was like a pile driver to the whole gaming industry that had so many people trying to log on that there were queues going on for hours just to boot into the lobby. Everyone was playing and enjoying Helldivers 2, and it was hailed as an instant classic. And the developers, Arrowhead, were game dev heroes, an indie team putting out a live service game that became the highest selling PlayStation.
It's so good. We were all asking for a horde mode, right? For games. You're like, just put a horde mode in it. Just put a horde mode in this game. Just put a horde mode in this game. And they came out with a game that's just basically a horde mode.
Game on Steam by a mile, and at one point even beat GTA Online and concurrent players. That is unheard of. It wasn't for nothing either, because this game at launch was my favorite online game of all time. It was beautiful, it ran swimmingly, and it felt amazing.
And they said, nah, let's make it worse.
Seriously, the controls felt so good, and it struck a perfect balance of random funny.
I have 72 hours, I think it's 72 hours on Steam, and then I have close to 100 hours on Xbox since last year, right?
Chaos and complex systems that made it one of a kind. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but this is a live service game, and we can trust Arrowhead to fix it. After all, a game this good couldn't have been an accident.
That's
Eventually, most people who played the game moved on and got to live with this as the version of the game in their memory. Unfortunately, I was not one of those people.
Unfortunately, I stayed and played the game.
And after years of updates that consistently make the game I loved worse, I now believe a game that good could have most definitely been an accident. So, sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and let me tell you why I hate Helldivers 2.
They mess up the easiest stuff, and it's like, how are you not supposed to get upset?
But interesting. Apparently, we forgot to change the coding.
A lot of these changes
Forgot to change the coding.
were targeted towards the Coyote.
For the love of God, please just listen to your player base and fix your game.
I never understood any PvE game where you buff the bad guys instead of buffing the weapons, right? Everything they've done in this game is to go against the player to make it less enjoyable. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plans out.
Now here's the thing, this game is really hard to talk about, like 10 times harder than every other game I've ever talked about. And that's for a couple reasons. One, the patch notes don't tell the whole story. In more ways than one. Sometimes it's literal, because Arrowhead is infamous for not putting all the changes in the patch notes, but other times it's more complex. Take them nerfing the Breaker. Now on paper, it seems like it was a no-brainer. It was the only gun people were using, so it was obviously overpowered.
Let people use the guns they want to use. That's the reason they want to play the game. When you nerf one gun and then make something different, people get upset. Make different situations for different guns.
Right? Well, no. As someone who was there, the Breaker was just the only gun that didn't feel like you were shooting tickle bullets.
That's right.
2, this game didn't just trend downwards. There are times that the devs listened and went and buffed a whole bunch of stuff and fixed problems, and everyone was like, we're so bad. But the problem is the constant backtracking and actively malicious balance changes between these moments. So on the outside looking in, it looks like a passionate indie team still trying to figure it out. But the devil is in the details, and the details tell a very different story. But before we get into that, let me ask you a question. What is Helldivers 2? Now, if you said it's a horde shooter, congrats. You're like 99% of people with eyes. Unfortunately, the 1% that didn't say that is Arrowhead.
That's what it is. It's a horde shooter. It's a horde extraction shooter. That's what it is, right? Like, remember when we played Reach, right? And you're at that last mission or that mission, and you didn't know if it was going to end. You're trying to hold off the horde as far as possible. We're like, this is amazing, right? That's what they did with this game, but you have to try to extract afterwards. It's fantastic. They didn't think so.
Seem to be under the impression that they've made a milsim game, and this disconnect seems to be behind a lot of the horseradish this game puts out. But 2 things here. 1, if they were trying to make a
what was that?
To be behind a lot of the horseradish this game puts out. But 2 things here.
What was that? Two things here. Got it.
1, if they were trying to make a hyper-realistic military shooter, then they failed on day 1. When this game released, it had a pre-programmed group of enemies that always followed you and would start a fight the instant they cut up to you. Now this makes sense if the game is supposed to be a horde shooter. I may not like it, but it makes sense. But if it's a milsim game, then this doesn't fit, because why would it be this hard to tactically avoid conflict in a realistic shooter? But
right.
It makes total sense for a horde shooter trying to force you into a fight. And 2, even if they are trying to make it a realistic milsim, there's a lot of choices they've made that just...
This guy's voice that makes the video sounds like my friend. He literally sounds like one of my good friends. Did he start a YouTube channel? Didn't tell me.
Don't make sense. Like their one-sided beef with Heights that still, to this day, makes the game worse. All that to say, that even if they set out to make a milsim, what they actually made is one of the best horde shooters ever, and they have been fighting against that since day 1. But it wasn't always like this. When the game launched, it was amazing. It looked stunning. The gameplay was amazing.
I want to play this game. I played a lot of this game, but I lost interest in this game because it became so much bullshit. Right? I felt like the NPCs are cheating to kill me.
The Galactic War was exciting. It released in a completed state with only a handful of bugs.
They're like popping in 3 feet in front of me, right? They're in rocks shooting me through the rock.
And they were pro-consumer and only locked armor and guns behind war bonds. Wow, this might be the greatest game of all time. I will now go through how everything I just praised is now worse.
Hold on, let me rewind what he just said, all that.
The Galactic War was exciting. It released in a completed state with only a handful of bugs, and they were pro-consumer and only locked armor and guns behind war bonds.
That's right.
Wow, this might be the greatest game of all time. I will now go through how everything I just praised is now worse.
Hey, I can't see!
This is going to be a short section, because the graphics still look great when you can see them.
Right.
I'm not sure why, but the devs have cranked the fog effects all...
The fog effects, the light effects, like when it looks like you're looking into the goddamn sun on certain boards.
The way up to Wumbo for no reason. There are so many planet mods that reduce visibility that it gets to the point where being able to see is a luxury. And that leads us to another problem. The environmental modifiers are lame. Most of them boil down to either slowing you down, making it hard to see, or some unholy combination of the two. And the ones that aren't are just boring. Like, come on, y'all. Y'all have a whole whole galaxy's worth of possibilities, and all y'all can think of is cold weather? Seriously? Now, they're not all bad. I really like stuff like the meteorites and the fire tornadoes. That kind of stuff.
Fire tornadoes were cool when they first came out, but I don't want to see another goddamn fire tornado.
Is interesting when they're not spamming it at you every 5 minutes.
Right.
But credit where credit is due, it is better than being blind. Also, I gotta say, for a game that's centered entirely around liberating different planets in space, there is a startling amount of biomes in this game that are very normal, like Butt Cheek, Louisiana, or the desert, or Scotland. Now, it's not every biome, but for a game that entirely takes place in outer space, you'd think they'd take advantage of that and really go crazy.
Right. Like make it like a Utapau, right, type of stuff. You know what I mean? Make it crazy looking planets that you've been on instead of going, yeah, it's just Earth, but it's like No Man's Sky, desert, water, snow.
Crazy with the environment, but a lot of them feel like places here on Earth. Beautiful places, but still very normal for a game where you fight space bugs with laser guns. But I'll admit, those are just nitpicks. You know what isn't though? The fact that this game runs like Stephen Hawking. It has constant frame rate issues.
That's a low blow on Stephen Hawking.
With crashing and hard locking PCs, which could seriously damage your parts over time, plus reports of the game straight up breaking people's PCs. Now that last part has some debate on whether it's real or not, so take it with a grain of
That's right. Super Earth can only manage democracy on Earth-like planets.
salt, but real or not, the fact that I wasn't even surprised when I heard of that happening speaks volumes. And this is made way worse by the bugs. Oh my lord, this game has more bugs than a terrarium. And this ranges from pretty harmless bugs like when you hit the ground and start swimming randomly, to annoying bugs like enemies phasing through walls, to game breaking.
Don't worry, it's a feature. It's a feature.
Bugs like constant crashing. This game has them all. Now here's the thing, even in the most polished video games, bugs are gonna happen.
Sure.
It's just a fact. But this game has so many bugs that one, stay in the game for ages, and two, have a good chance of just being broken again in the very next update.
Right.
Take fire, for example. Throughout this game's whole lifespan, I'm pretty sure it's worked correctly for a grand total of 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Fire is terrible, and every time they try to fix it, it's broke 3 seconds after.
It's constantly some weird client-side issue or a messed up hitbox. It's almost never spreading correctly, and it's been like this for years. Meanwhile, stuff like the spear going through enemy armor gets patched lickety-split. Why? Well, for some reason, Arrowhead heavily prioritized fixing bugs that benefit the player over everything else. Improving performance? Nope.
Right. If you find something that helps you out as a player, they will 100% fix it. If you find something that fucks you over, they're like, yeah, that's fine. No, we don't know how to fix it.
Fixing up persistent bugs like enemies phasing through walls. Sorry, game development is hard.
Yep.
But you can bet your bottom dollar that the second they see shit like this, it's on site. But you know, a lot of these problems wouldn't even make it to the game if they tested the updates before releasing them. Yet for some reason, it seems like they just don't test.
I still get stuck.
They tested the updates before releasing.
Every time I go into a crate, it's been like this for a year now, right? Every time I go into a crate to grab the stuff from the crate, I get stuck in there and I can't get out, and I have to dive out of there. But I can't dive right away. I have to move around and try to shimmy myself to a certain spot, and then I can dive out.
Yet for some reason, it seems like they just don't test at all. Don't believe me? Remember when they buffed the jetpack, but there was a bug where if you were holding forward on the controller when you landed, you would just fent flop? Or what about how currently in the game, there's a bug that breaks half of the climbing settings? Like they just straight up don't work. How in the world did this update get out the door with the core mechanic not working? And why has it been in the game for months? Yes, you heard me right, months. I don't care who you are or how small your studio is, this is unacceptable. So, quick update. The devs came out and said that they're adding and fixing a bunch of stuff, but here's the thing. 1, I don't trust them. 2, nothing's happened yet. And 3, they say weird shit like we'll fix stratagem ball bouncing by the end of the year, when modders have gone into the files and proven that it's a toggle that they can just switch off. So why the delay?
Oh, Jesus. It's a toggle, and they're like, yeah, just kidding. We can't fix it. We don't know how to fix it.
Anyway, back to the video. But hey, at least the gameplay's still good, right? The gameplay is what made Helldivers as popular as it was, but ever since launch, the devs have been in a never-ending war to try to suffocate all the fun out of the game, and occasionally they'll let you pay $10 for them to take the pillow off for a bit. But
Isn't that nice of them? That's nice of them, right?
in order to understand what I mean, we gotta talk about what made it good in the first place, and how Arrowhead has made it worse. Number 1, the Galactic War. Now, if you don't know, the Galactic War is basically the story of the game, but what made it special is that it was more like a D&D campaign, where what the players did supposedly mattered, and it made one.
I did a podcast with Lono, right? I want to say it was like 2.5 years ago. When this game came out, it was like 3 weeks after the game came out, we started talking about it, and I laid out what they should do for this game, 100%. And I predicted it, and they did it, okay? I was like, this is what they should do with the game. They're in a situation that no other game can do, right? They have the mercy of everyone at their hands because they're doing it so well. I said, let's see if they can keep it up. And here we are.
One-of-a-kind stories that you were a part of. Stuff like Malevelon Creek, saving the super children, or earning the mechs through major orders wouldn't have been possible without this system. But nowadays, they use it for 2 things. Jack shit. They just don't do anything with it. Probably because it's better for their wallets to stop putting stratagems in major orders and make you buy a war bond instead.
That's correct, right? And I literally said this when the game came out. I was like, oh, this is great. You can earn the stuff in the game. Right? Like we have to do this mission, and if we fail, then we don't get the exosuit. But if we make it, then we do get the exosuit, right? And then you would purchase it inside the game. If you've unlocked it, now you have to purchase it, right? It was brilliant. But now they're like, no, you just pay for it.
But don't worry, I'll get to that later. Here's the thing though, even if they still did fun creative stuff with the Galactic War, it wouldn't solve the major issue with the system, which is the fact that the way it's set up, players have no say in how the story goes down. Let me explain. So, every planet has a health bar and a decay rate, and
me and Sarge talked about this, right? Where it doesn't matter. It actually helps when less people do this thing. When less people work on the actual planet, it's better.
Whenever you beat a mission, you make the health bar grow by a tiny bit, but the planet's health bar is constantly going down, which is the decay rate. And there's a few problems with this. 1, the decay rate makes playing on literally any planet that's not a major order pointless. And number 2, say there's a major order to liberate a planet, but in order to get there, you have to choose to liberate one of 2 planets.
Right.
So based on everything I told you, you would look at the decay rates and go, this one has a smaller decay rate, let's go there. Based on everything you know, that's the obvious play.
That's correct.
But what I didn't tell you is that each planet has a different health bar. So even if the decay rate is really low, the planet's health bar might be so big that going for the other planet with a higher decay rate is the right play. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, why didn't you tell me that before? That feels very deceptive. Good catch, because that's exactly how it is in-game. The game makes zero effort to explain any of this at all. I've already put more effort explaining it in this short paragraph than Arrowhead have in the past 2 years. But even if they did put all this info in the game, it still wouldn't matter because they can.
You can lose wars in this, right? Just enough. Like you could lose where we don't get to go to the planet and stuff like that. That's still in the game that you could lose. Now, I've never played Helldivers 1, but you can lose stuff in this game.
And have adjusted the decay rate on the fly to force the outcome they want, which defeats the purpose of the whole system. But a war ain't nothing but a series of battles, and that's where this game really shines. While on the surface it looks like just another horde shooter, what made it different is what made it great. First things first, shit ain't sweet. It is extremely easy to die in this game.
100%. Too easy now. Mr. Z says, I haven't played in a long time, but a lot of this seems like features and extended engagement to play time. And now people just don't play. Yeah, because I don't know if you were here earlier, Mr. Z, when I was talking about people on the playground playing, having fun. And then there's that one parent that's like, stop playing. Don't get off that swing. Don't do that. Get off the slide. That's what Arrowhead's doing with their own game, right? We're on the playground all having fun with the game. We're like, this is amazing. Look at us having fun. Woo! And then all of a sudden, they're like, stop that. You can't have fun. We got to have fun. We got to have fun shitting on you having fun.
Especially if you don't know what you're doing. Everything in this game can and will game end you. And that includes your dumbass homeboy relieving your head from your shoulders with a shotgun. The game was pretty hard, but it wasn't unfairly hard. Almost every enemy had intuitive weak spots and ways to kill them quickly that made sense, but still required skill.
That sounds like the in Battlefront 1 and 2, there was the Galactic Conquest. And in Galactic Conquest, you could win the planet and then you could lose the planet. And there was like a fight. That's what it sounds like you're describing there. You know what? Maybe I'll pick up Helldivers 1 and play that. That's like a top-down one, right?
And this made for a very unique balance between mowing down enemies and needing precision that I've never seen before. Also, the game just felt so good to play. It controlled silky smooth and everything just felt right. And the stratagem system is amazing and every part of it
All
just
turn says don't. Why? What? Don't play the first one? Why?
tickles my brain.
It's a reason why it's not popular. Okay, all right.
But ever since launch, this game has been on a never-ending campaign to make everything that made it good worse. And it's all been in the name of difficulty. Now, I know a lot of hardcore fans are probably saying to themselves, oh, he just wants to be overpowered and run around like Doom Guy, while they dox my address in the comments. But that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that, like
Wait a minute. Is this person? Oh, no, this is something else.
Address in the comments, but that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that, like anything in life, there's a way to do difficulty well and a way to do it not so well.
Correct.
For example, the new God of War games do difficulty horribly. On the highest difficulty, you're basically just trying to feather duster your enemies to death, because all that changes is that you do less damage while the enemies do more. On the other hand, a game like Sifu does difficulty really well, because it's challenging you to be better, while God of War is just trying to kill you. Dark Souls is another example of a game that does difficulty well. It's not just killing you because dying equals hard. It's teaching you something.
Right,
and
it
most
adds different
importantly,
mechanics.
it's fair. This shit ain't fair. Helldivers has had a very interesting relationship with difficulty throughout its whole lifespan. It's not like the game started off perfect, but the problem is that they just don't learn their goddamn lesson and keep making the same mistakes over and over and over because they want the game to be hard. And make no mistake, this game has always been hard.
Yeah, but there's the difficulty things, right? There's like level 10 or whatever you can go. But now it's just like level 4s is insane. Right? It's not even fun.
But for some reason, it's like they take it personally when people are good at their game and will do anything to stop that shit, even if that means making the game miserable, because they're not trying to challenge you, they're trying to kill you. For example, early on in the game's lifespan, they saw that some people were doing the highest difficulty solo. So what did they do? They changed the spawn rate so that the less people you had in your party, the harder it was. So people like me...
Right. That way, now it's impossible to do it by yourself, and you need to play with other people.
Who only had one other friend who had the game, got a worse experience just because Arrowhead took offense to the fact that anyone dared to be too good at their game. Or take ragdolling. Ragdolling can be very funny, but like all jokes, when you repeat it too much, it gets very annoying.
Yep.
Especially when it leads to your death. And everyone who played against automatons on launch learned that the hard way. Because not only did they have insane aim, but the rocket robots ragdolled you constantly, had infinite ammo, and on top of that, they were everywhere. It made the automatons hard.
Right, that's what I don't like, right? Like, we, the player, we have guns, we run out of ammo, we have to find new ammo. The NPC is just... Right? It was like, what are we talking about? If it's supposed to be realistic, like you said earlier, they were making a mill sim and we're playing a hoarder, right? Then they would also have to reload, which that's when you would stop taking your shots, you would hunker down, then take them out little by little.
Sure, but also just not fun to fight, because getting ragdolled from out of cover and filled with lead isn't challenging you, it's just killing you. Now after launch, they fixed a lot of these problems, and I'm sure they learned from this and won't do the exact same thing again, right? Basically, every new enemy we've gotten has had problems like this that take forever to get fixed, which makes me think that Arrowhead doesn't think reoccurring problems like insane ragdolling or bad weak points are actually problems, because to Arrowhead, difficulty just means killing you. Look at the flesh mobs on release. Not only did these guys spawn constantly and have a ton of health, but they also had no weak points. What was the challenge? Not running out of ammo when you mag dump all 10 the game threw at you? What was it trying to teach you? Because the only thing it taught me me is how to Alt F4 faster. It's not even just new enemies that are like this. Sometimes they'll go in and break old enemies just because. Take stalkers, for example. What they do is they turn invisible so they can sneak up on you and lick all over your back meat. But if you're watching your back, you can see them coming, and they teach you to pay attention to your surroundings. But one day, Arrowhead randomly decided that this good enemy needed to suck. So they made them almost completely invisible so you couldn't see them coming, which defeats the whole point. Why did they do this? To kill you more. That's it. Same with headshots. Why can I get headshot by the enemies in a PvE game? It's so you die more, because the amount of times you die is the only number Arrowhead cares about, well, aside from which gun is being used the most. Which leads us to... Bro, so you gonna just break my shit? So you gonna just break my shit? So you gonna just break my shit? Helldivers 2...
I want to see that again. I do like his editing. I think Travis said it earlier. He reminds me of Kingred's editing.
Arrowhead cares about, well, aside from which gun is being used the most. Which leads us to... Bro, so you gonna just break my shit? So you gonna just break my shit? So you gonna just break my shit? Helldivers 2 has had serious balance issues since day one, because with Arrowhead, it's nerf or nothing. And I know someone's already heading to the comments to say, well, actually, there's been more buffs than nerfs. And while that's technically true, it doesn't account for the fact that the nerfs are way more severe than the buffs.
Yeah.
Just look at the Eruptor. Arrowhead straight up butchered this gun to the point where it was useless. And it took 3 buffs for it to be decent again. And the Eruptor is one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, but why did you change it at all? The Eruptor was the strongest gun in the game, right? But it also blew you up if you didn't know how to learn to use it correctly, and you also ran out of ammo pretty fast. So there was a give and take type of thing.
Arrowhead has left a graveyard of mid in their wake. Why do they do this? What Arrowhead wants is for some guns to be very good at specific things, while some are just okay at everything, right? But here's the problem. The game is simply not set up for that. Before I continue, I need to make sure you know what a seed is. It's a little complicated to explain fully, but in this game, it's just what kind of enemies you'll be fighting. Like if you get a Bile Spewer seed, you'll face mainly Bile Spewers, as opposed to Hunters if you get a Hunter seed. Got it? Good. The reason that's important is because the game doesn't tell you what seed you're getting before you start the mission. And there's no way to switch your guns after the mission starts. So unless you're picking the strongest, most versatile guns, you're gambling the next 40 minutes of your life on the off chance you get lucky enough to get the seed you want. Why would I ever take the Blitzer if the only time it's ever good is against the Hunter seeds? I don't know about y'all, but that's just not a gamble I want to take. But credit where credit is due. Overall, the balance has improved from day one. I'm not sure how many of y'all remember, but like 98% of the stuff in this game was just straight up bad, especially stratagems. But you can use a lot more stuff now, and that's always a good thing. All right, back to complaining, because while it is better now, Arrowhead still can't help themselves. And when I say they nerf everything, I don't just mean they nerf the best stuff, because sometimes they'll just gut weapons for no reason. Like my baby, the Arc Thrower. Now, the Arc Thrower was never the strongest support weapon. Hell, most of the time it was barely top 4, but it just felt so good to use. It was basically a lightning sniper, but what made it special is that it had a mechanic where after you charged the first shot up all the way, you only had to charge the follow-up shots halfway, as long as you kept shooting. Plus, it had a major drawback, because if you weren't really careful with it, you would just smite your homeboy. And it was really fun to use. It had one tiny little problem though. It had the same bug that the railgun had, which made it able to kill Bile Titans pretty easily. So, the wrath of Arrowhead rained down upon it, and they ruined it. Apparently, the half charge mechanic was a bug, and since the
so here's the thing, right? If the Bile Titans it destroyed them easily, you would have to bring that in. Not everyone's bringing that in, right? Because it's random what spawns in the map.
The developers are gold medalists and looking a gift horse in the mouth. They took it out and ruined the range, so you had to get in close on the lightning sniper. Oh, and on top of that, after the nerf, some players found out they could use it to stun Hulks, so they nerfed it again, just because.
Gamers are gonna find ways, and then Arrowhead's gonna be like, "What? They can stun that? No, take that out."
Or how about the explosive crossbow? When it came out, it was useless, and they still nerfed it. But of all the examples I brought up, these are my favorite, because I have definitive proof that Arrowhead has genuine beef with height. Exhibit A, I'd like to introduce you to the Humble Sentry. See, these things have never really been all that good. They have limited ammo, they constantly trick shot you, and they're made out of paper mache. Every time you put one of these things down, it gets destroyed pretty much instantly. Because all a charger has to do is walk it down and poof, it's gone. In fact, they are specifically programmed to rush them down aggressively, and all these things combine to make sure they are extremely useless. But contrary to what Arrowhead seems to think, people aren't stupid, and most people realized a lot of these problems could be negated by putting them on high ground. Keyword being negated, because they still weren't amazing, they were just usable.
What did they do to this? What did they do to them? Can you not throw them on high ground anymore?
They could still gun your ass down, they still ran out of ammo pretty quickly, and bugs could still just walk up the wall and break it. It was just a little bit better. So you'd think that Arrowhead, the guys who desperately want this to be a hardcore military shooter, would see this and take pride in the fact that their players are using smart tactics to work around the weaknesses of the items, right?
Or as we call it, cheesing, right?
No. Instead, these guys rework stratagems so you can't place them on high ground, which is so ridiculously petty, it's not even funny. And it has caused a multi-year long issue where stratagem balls bounce when you throw them, even when you're not close to heights. And it makes stratagem
Oh my god, no, stratagems bounce like a rubber ball.
The game's most unique feature feel inconsistent, random, and straight up worse. All because the devs apparently got their feelings hurt when people managed to make the dog shit sandwich they gave us even a little bit useful. Exhibit B, Hell pod steering. Landing on high ground was never an issue. The bugs in this game...
Yeah, you would be able to do this, and then they nerfed it. And then they make it into a thing where you have to unlock it to move it. And then they nerfed it again.
Go get your ass off of whatever rock you were on, and the other factions have guns. Plus, the important detail of how you're going to get down from the giant rock you landed yourself on made high ground something that was only useful in very specific situations, and something that should have never even been on the devs' radar, but it was. So the devs just broke Hell pod steering. If you are anywhere near...
Travis says, so make a problem and sell a different problem. That's right.
A tall rock or building, the game will just lock up and you will be dropped wherever the game thinks you should. But not only that, they also changed it to feel way more muddy and sluggish than it did before. Because what's worse is that it barely works. Do you know how many times the game has forced me to land in a death trap? Or
yeah, you used to be able to like move your pod. And now you move it, it barely moves.
Right on top of a giant ledge with no way to get down? A lot. And for what? So the 3 people who enjoyed sniping on a rock couldn't have fun anymore? I just cannot understand the thought process behind these decisions at all. And it's infuriating. Because one of my favorite things about this game is how good the controls felt, but they keep making them worse for no reason. But you know what's worse than all that?
Real eyes, realize, realize.
Okay.
Now, those of you who are big into Helldivers will notice that the examples I brought up a second ago all happened before or around the 60-day patch, and I used almost no recent examples. That's because I was saving them for this section. Because the lesson they learned from the 60-day patch wasn't, hey, maybe don't do everything possible to ruin the player experience. It was that they should keep doing it, but in the most deceptive and damaging way possible.
Right, no, we're not doing anything.
For example, instead of nerfing individual items, they'll do a massive sweeping change that makes the game feel way worse all around, but especially affects one item they don't like. Like when the cities came out and they changed orbitals so that they come in at a wacky angle. And this made all the orbitals feel worse, but especially affected the laser. Or how about when they went and made all the sidearms have crazy sway, horrible ergonomics, and made stopping to shoot with them worse by making them horribly inaccurate right after you stop moving. Yes, seriously. And
why?
A game that centers around running and gunning, they made every sidearm feel absolutely awful to run and gun with. Why? They were going after the revolver, which had been on their shit list for a while. It applied to SMGs too, but they've always been useless, so this was just another crazy stray dealt out by Arrowhead. But the funniest one is definitely when they buffed SMGs, but gave them insanely high damage fall off, while also buffing the damage resistance of enemies, so the SMGs ended up worse than they were before. Oh my god, it's so dumb. But the deceptive decisions aren't just stupid, sometimes they're very calculated. Like how they only seem to fix problems when it can benefit their wallets. Like how people were asking for a fire buff for ages, and look at that, it came out just...
you know, we had this conversation. Hell, me and Kingard had this conversation when the game first came out. Now, obviously, back then it was, is it pay to win? Right? We had this conversation. Now, back then, you could make a debate if it was pay to win or not. Now it's 100% pay to win.
Just in time for the new war bond that just so happens to have a fire weapon. Or how about how suppressors were straight up broken for half a year and all of a sudden it gets fixed for the suppressor war bond. But don't worry, it still gets worse. Isn't it strange how they made players die to bleed damage faster right before selling armor that reduces bleed damage?
Bro.
Or how they nerfed the amount of ammo you can carry right before releasing armor that lets you carry more ammo. Because to me, it sounds like they're creating problems so they can sell you the solution.
Good old corporate world, huh? Huh, chat? Something we cover on this show all the time, right? Make a problem, sell the solution. Holy shit.
Which is such a scummy and disgusting business practice.
It's the worst business practice.
Especially considering the fact that this is not a free-to-play game. You have to pay money to get this game, only to be faced with this genuinely disrespectful horse race.
And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, this is not Arrowhead doing this, right? This has to be Sony telling them to do this. And you might be right? Because Sony is not having the best luck with live service games. And the only thing making money for them is this game. This is the most successful live service game that they have.
Radish. And don't give me that, oh, you could get the war bonds for free, just grind super credits. First of all, that doesn't solve this issue at all. And second, they give these things out 10 at a time. I'd be better off wandering the streets for a rogue $10 bill than grinding for hours just for them to nerf my new stuff a week later. To anyone still grinding super credits, it's not worth your time because they simply don't.
I want you to go back to that.
It's not worth your time because
my number one rule in video games is respect my time, right? Respect the player, okay? Respect the player, which respects my time, okay? They don't respect you. They don't care. They made the sale, and now you have the game, right? So now they're just trying to turn that knife inside you.
They simply don't. None of what I've talked about in this video would have happened if...
We had such a good time, Luke. I had a great time playing with Altern and Aku and Sarge and Eclipse, right? Like, we had a blast playing this game. And then they fucked it up fast.
If they did. We would not have been in multiple review bomb emergency patch situations if they did. Not to mention the multiple developers who have openly mocked the players. It's been like this since...
They mock the players.
Multiple developers.
And I'm out here. Get good. Play easiest if you want to win. Send in a ticket. Complain. HR might have a meeting with me. Another person says, I'm feeding rage a little more of my own entertainment here, so you know. I haven't nerfed anything into the ground. I just think it's a little too early to pretend like the game is figured out. We made two of the most brainless play style less viable, and brought the guns that are under/overperforming more into line with the rest. The game is only a couple of weeks old, so before we start making sweeping changes, make everything roughly in 10 from the start, that doesn't mean we won't bring things up and know more about the people that play the game. Okay.
Who have openly mocked the players. It's been like this since the very first update when they stealth buffed enemy aggression. After that update went live, they came out and said, we are listening and we're working on improving our communication. And they said this exact same sentence like a week ago. In fact, the CCO himself said he would check in every 2 weeks for updates on community feedback. He failed week 1. I am so
I remember that.
serious. But there's one event that perfectly sums up the blatant disrespect that Arrowhead has for their players. Let's talk about the Coyote. When the Coyote first came out...
Great gun. Love that gun when it came out. I remember telling Sarge, you gotta get this gun. You gotta get this gun.
It was absolutely loved, mostly because it was the first AR to not be insanely mid, plus it lights stuff on fire. Anyway, at this point, Arrowhead already had a very long history of nerfing guns that people loved, so everyone assumed the Coyote was next. But then they came out with a dev update where they were like, oh no, it looks like we forgot to nerf the Coyote, haha, which just... It was in poor taste. And come to find out, they didn't nerf the coyote directly. What they did is they went in and changed the way fire works in such a hyper-specific way that the only thing it affected in any way was the coyote. And if that's not enough proof for you, they straight up admitted that they nerfed it afterwards. But wait, it still gets worse, because in a recent AMA, the CCO was all like, "We didn't lie, it's just too complex, so we should never touch fire again." Are you fucking kidding me? Not only do you still nerf the gun after being so cheeky in your video, but you have the nerve to try to pass it off like it was an accident, even though the other developer
fucking gaslighting us
already admitted to it. Where do you get the nerve? And what's worse is that the nerf didn't even do anything. The gun barely changed. They went through all this for nothing because they just can't help themselves. Listen, I hope this video ages like milk. I really do. But the devs of this game repeatedly show that they don't respect the players until they get review bombed. And right after it's done, they go back to business as usual. My honest prediction is that at first, this video will look like it aged badly. Arrowhead is gonna fix a bunch of stuff when they drop the Warhammer War Bond they key jangled in front of us, and everyone is gonna love the game again. But as time passes, Arrowhead will keep doing the same shit, and this video is gonna age like wine. But we'll have to see. Anyway, have a nice day.
Well, there you go. Oh, he's got another video. Why it sucks and Red Dead overrated. Oh, we're going to have to watch this guy's other content. I liked his video. I did. I liked so Zod 3D. Link in the description down below. He's got 9,440 subscribers. Go check him out. I liked his style. I liked the way he did the video. Yeah, it's crazy to me, right? It's crazy to me that there's companies struggling to get people to play their game, right? Struggling to get their game to be played. Then you have Arrowhead. I mean, let's go look at the Steam charts for Helldivers. Right? You have 458,000 people. Now, obviously, it went off the cliff, but it was like months later, right? It was February, then it was March, and then it fell off, but it hit rock bottom here because that's when they told you to sign up and shit. Okay, then they fixed it and whatnot. So look, here's the last year. Okay, up and down, up and down, up and down. These people sold a game. People love this game. People love playing the game. People love going back to this game. There's other companies out there. Marathon can't even get to this number on a normal day, right? These guys are getting this day on daily, and yet they're trying to ruin their player base. Why? I don't understand it. We got studios closing. You got games that can't get to 1,000 people. You have this game that got to 500,000 almost. Concurrent, by the way, has sold 21 million copies. And they're like, nah, we want to shit on the people that are playing the game. We don't want them to have fun playing the game. It makes no sense. When in this day and age, everyone has the same amount of time, and people choose to play your game. Your game could be the Fortnite, the Minecraft, the Roadblocks, the Call of Duty, and they just constantly sabotage themselves throughout the time. It makes no sense. No sense. Alter says, by the way, if you make a game and you say it's too hard for us, then why the fuck did you make the game? Sarge says, because Sony tells them they have to. Yeah, it was a good video. Good video. Mr. Luke says, Sony killed Helldivers 2. Sony let Destiny die. They really don't want live service because of their actions. Yeah, it is kind of crazy, right? They say they don't have IPs. Maybe. Let me take a shot here. Arrowhead is not owned by Sony, right? But Helldivers is. Helldivers is owned by Sony, but Arrowhead is not owned by them. They're making their own game now because of the success of this. I wonder if they're trying to fuck it up so much that they don't have to work on it anymore. Do you know what I mean? They're like, yeah, we're done with it. We just want to move on. We want to make the next game. I wonder. Obviously, that's just my speculation. I have no idea. But it seems pretty crazy. Maybe they want to make their own thing. Maybe their next game they come out with is like a Helldivers, but in their own world that's not owned by Sony. Roic says, hell, D4 is the same way. The two main pain points from the last season are, instead of fixing it, they double down and hit it for the next season. Wait, the one that just came out, Roic, that everyone like loves? There's problems with that one now? Clip says, every time it goes on sale, it becomes like top 5 sold games on Steam. I mean, it's a fun game, but god damn it, man. I want to play it. I turned it on the other day. I did. I turned it on the other day when I was like, I don't know what game to play, because I stopped playing The Legends of California. And then I was like, I don't know what to play. I put in Helldivers, jumped in, and I went, nah, I'm good. Like last year, me and Mr. Luke, we constantly play it. Every afternoon we would play it. I fucking love the game. Alter says, I don't think Sony is telling Arrowhead to nerf the Coyote. They might tell them to just put them in the mech on the war bond to sell more, but I don't think Sony is aware of the nerfs. Yeah, I don't think Sony's doing the nerfs and stuff. Definitely the war bonds that they're putting in. That's got to be MO from Sony. Oh, that's a shame. So yes, the D4. So the D4 update that just came out, right? Diablo 4's update. Everyone's like, oh, it's back. It's so good. Not so good, huh? Amazing. Rogue says they changed the uniques to roll with random affixes and everyone hated it. So they're doing the same thing with the mythics as well as nerfing them into the ground. The worst part, obviously, you can't do lawsuits or anything like this for this, but they hype up something like the mythics, right? And then when people get the mythics, they finally get the mythic, right? And you got to remember, a lot of people don't put a lot of hours into the game because they're just casual gamers. So when they finally get a mythic, it's now nerfed, right? So you got the game, and you probably bought it, you're like, oh, cool, new weapons, new stuff, but then they nerf it into the ground. You're like, what's the point? It's frustrating. Good old video games, man. Look, on this channel, we love educating, right? Educating people on how the industry works. And you can see it every single day, right? We love video games here, right? None of us are going to deny that. We love our video games. We all have our little crutch, or crux, I should say, of what gets you, what you want to buy, what type of games you like, right? And we're okay with that, okay? What we're not okay with is these companies, these corporate entities, these devs, where they don't respect your time. They want you to buy their stuff, but they don't respect your time, right? They insult you if you don't buy their things, right? They charge you more money for a shittier product. It's all of these things that are happening in the game industry, and I try to say stuff and open up your mind to it, right? I'm not telling you how to pay or how to play or what to buy, right? I'm just telling you, look, these things are here. These things are happening in the industry, okay? Just be a smarter customer when it comes to certain things. Don't fall for the things that they tell you, right? A car salesman tells you everything about the car that you want, and when you get the car, it's a fucking lemon. Okay, right? That's why used cars salesmen have that mentality, and people hate them, right? That's what the gaming industry is. They try to sell you. They show you the trailers. They show you the stuff. You get hooked on it. You're like, man, that looks amazing. And then when you get it, you're like, this is not what they told me. This is a bad game design, right? And then when a game does come out good, they find a way to screw it up. Like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. Right? We had a video talking about how Helldivers is the new Left 4 Dead, right? Sarge said that. Left 4 Dead was just such a great game. They didn't touch it. They didn't nerf it. They didn't do anything with it. They just put the game out there. People loved to play it, and they played the game, okay? Helldivers was that game that hasn't been for such a long time, and yet Arrowhead couldn't help themselves. They're like, we don't want to have a good game. We want to have a shitty game that people hate to play. it makes no sense. Yes, there's other games, right? Yes, there's other games, and people want to go play these other games, and this is why the number fell down and stuff. But every time you bring it back and then you fuck it up, why? Why do you do it? This one might be the last one, right? This one might be the last one where they're not coming back, and this number just falls even more. Because the next 1,000 games coming out, right? Doesn't matter if you play an RPG, doesn't matter if you play an action pack, doesn't matter if you play a hoarder, doesn't matter if you play a Sims game. When Grand Theft Auto comes out in November, there's going to be a mass lull in games that drop, right? You think I'm joking. I'm not. Okay? There's going to be a mass, I don't care if you play it or not. They're projecting 45 million people buying the game by day one. Do you understand? 45 million. Okay? If that happens and Grand Theft Auto comes out, regardless if you play it or not, there's going to be 45 million people playing Grand Theft Auto. You're not going to see anything. You're going to see numbers dropping off like the Grand Canyon because they're all playing Grand Theft Auto. Your feed's going to be Grand Theft Auto. Your YouTube feed's going to be Grand Theft Auto. Everyone's going to be playing Grand Theft Auto. And the industry is going to be like going, what happened? And all they got to do is make the online fun, and people won't know what to do with themselves. That's what's going to happen. You're going to be a person that's like, I have no interest in Grand Theft Auto. I'm not going to get it, not going to pre-order, not going to do the stuff. And then all of a sudden, you're going to start seeing videos. You're going to start seeing people having fun. You're going to be like, well, that actually looks pretty good. I think I'll pick it up. Right? And then the snowball effect's going to happen. It's going to be catastrophic for most companies. It's going to be amazing for gamers, by the way. Right? It's going to be very, very interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's go to Twitter real fast, see what's happening on Twitter. Do we have the original post? Yeah, let me refresh the post now that's been 2.5 hours since the last time. And here we are. 21.8 million views for the announcement of the pre-order. This is the announcement of the pre-order. 21.8 million views in 2 hours. The industry is going to be, they're going to be very shocked. 21.8 million. By the end of today, it'll be maybe pushing 100 million. The announcement for announcement. That's right. The announcement for the announcement. Well, unfortunately, I saw a clip of the trailer. I haven't seen the trailer. I saw a clip of the trailer. So you'll know if it's a new trailer, Rowick. You'll know because they basically are going to show you way more stuff than the first trailer showed you absolutely nothing. Intrigued you, and that was it. Is Grand Theft Auto going to be the next forever game? I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 right now is in the top 10 of all time, like always. It sells 20 million copies a year on average. It's in the top 10 played games. It was a longer one. It's probably the new one then. Did you see Beta Hulk? Because that's the clip I saw. Did you see Beta Hulk? What time is it? 12:30? 12:40. All right, I gotta get my kids some lunch. It's now semi-alpha Hulk. Okay, all right. Non-beta Hulk? Yes, and the Punisher? Yeah, okay. All right, chat. Today we went over 3 videos. We went over Jason Schreier's how Xbox, how it all went to the shitter for them. We watched State of Decay 3. Person that was inside got to play the game, talk about the game. There is gameplay about State of Decay 3. Maybe we'll watch it next week. And then we watched why Helldivers 2 is broke or it sucks now. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. We just cover news stories, cover videos, give us a conversation, give you my thoughts and opinions. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. What else we got? We got you can go watch the Fake Wizard news that we did yesterday with Fake Wizard over on his channel. You can also be back tonight, GXG, 8 p.m. Eastern. We go over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. Appreciate it very much. We'll send you off with a little sampling of the Day GTA Drops, a song that I just created before the stream goes off. It's okay. It's not great, but it's a fun one. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace.
Alarm clock ringing at 5 a.m. Nobody slept, we're doing it again. Phones on fire, countdowns in the air. Everybody's watching, everybody's there. Preload, finish, snacks on the floor.